Good afternoon, all the participants. I, Prakhar Duggal, welcome all of you to fourth International Conference TRACE 2022. And we are being joined with Dr. Abhishek Mittal, sir. I welcome you, sir, to our conference. Dr. Abhishek Mittal, sir, is currently working as Principal Scientist in Flexible Payment Division and has more than 15 years of research experience at CRRI. His area of interest mainly include bituminous material, payment design, and failure investigation. He has published more than 40 research papers in various journals and conference proceedings. He has a patent on high performance, highly modified hybrid bitumen as well to his credit. He is also a member of the IFC Committee of the Accreditation of New Materials and Techniques. He's also the CRRI nominated member in the Technical Evaluation Committee for World Bank projects of PWD UP. He was the organizing secretary of the International Conference on Payments and Computational Approaches organized by CRRI in the year 2018. He has completed more than 50 research and consultancy projects and has guided many students for master and dissertation and summer training work at CRRI. We welcome you, sir. So we have been joined by our participants, and I'll just keep it very simple and brief. I hope I am clearly audible to all the participants, to all the presenters.
Yes, Prakhar, you are audible.
So I have already shared with all of you the sequence of the presentation on the WhatsApp group. I'll be calling with the paper ID number. When your number of paper ID is called, you are requested to come, unmute your mic, and share your PowerPoint presentation and present. You will be given at the most 10 minutes for the presentation, and it will be followed by a Q&A session. So I hope it is clear with each and everyone. Okay. So our first paper ID is paper ID 37. Rishi Sharma.
Yes, sir.
Rishi ji, welcome. Please share your screen. Yes, Rishi, your screen is visible.
Prakhar, just a few words from my side. Best wishes, yeah. So best wishes to all the presenters here. I would urge you to kindly restrict to the time slot that is given, that is 8 to 10 minutes, so that we can have at least 2-3 questions after the end of each presentation. So all the best, and now Rishi, you please continue with your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rishi, could you please unmute yourself? Rishi, you are not audible.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible now, please.
Yeah.
You may start.
Okay, sir. So, sir, the title of my paper is Planning Strategies for Improvement of Intermediate Public Transport, or IPT, in Walled City. And
sorry, Rishi, sorry to interrupt. Please put it on full screen mode. Press F5.
Yes, sir. So is it fine now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect now. It's perfect.
Yes, sir. So, sir, the title of my paper is Planning Strategies for Improvement of IPT in Walled Cities. And my case study is for Walled City, Delhi, which is also known as the Shahjahanabad area. And it's in the central part of New Delhi. So, sir, walled cities can be seen in different parts of India. Like there are walled cities in Jaipur, Old Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, Mumbai, and Ahmedabad. And most of the walled cities have somewhat similar character. That is, they're rich in culture. There is a lot of heritage value, and there is a lot of tourism. And because of like all the walled cities were the major commercial centers, so they have now been converted into commercial markets and commercial areas. So they attract a lot of footfall during, especially during the festival times. So in these cities, the major thing is that the streets are very narrow, and because of that, you don't see many public transport modes like buses and like MRTS or something like that in these areas. So the gap is bridged by a specific mode, that is IPT, and there are different types of IPT. So there are two categories, basically contract carriage and informal IPTs. So in contract carriage, there are NMT like cycle rickshaw and e-rickshaw, and then in there are motorized three-wheelers, auto rickshaws, and there are taxis as well. So the major benefit of IPT as a mode is that like there are a lot of varieties. It's cheaper, it's faster, and it also provides a source of employment to a huge number of population, and it bridges the gap between like it acts as a last mile connectivity option too. So in the walled city area, there are three types of IPT modes available. The first one is e-rickshaw, the second one is auto rickshaw, and the third one, the most important, is the cycle rickshaw. So the aim of my research was to analyze the impact and vitality of IPT in Wall City, Delhi, and provide suggestive measures to improve the IPT system and introduce intelligent transport system in the study area, so as to improve the whole management and efficiency of this particular mode in the study area. So the objectives were three basic objectives were framed. So the first one was to analyze the existing IPT system, then to identify the issues and shortcomings of infrastructure and management in the existing IPT, and to deliver planning interventions for for improving the existing situation of IPT system in the study area. So then for literature review purpose, there were few papers and few documents and reports that were referred to. So the major findings of these research papers are that I got to understand the role and impact of IPT in bridging the gap between public transport and other modes of transport, especially the types of IPT and their roles. Then was the character of walled city and the impact of IPT in and its role in walled city, specific role of IPT in walled cities, which I got to understand after studying the case studies of walled city of Jaipur and walled city of Udaipur, which I have discussed further in the paper too. And then was the role of cycle rickshaw and walled city, then average trip length, fare and preference of cycle rickshaw within the study area, the walled city of Delhi. I got that from the paper that was submitted by Rajat Bose and PK Sarkar. Then in through the ZDP, I got this selection of problematic streets and existing issues in the wall city. And then from the other papers, I got that methods to analyze impact, need, and issues in IPT modes like auto rickshaw. Then traffic and transportation related issues, modal share, footfall, ridership, mode preferences. These I got from the report that was uploaded by the DUAC, which is the Delhi Urban Arts Commission, and the project was rejuvenation of Shahjahanabad. Then I did two case studies. The first one was Udaipur walled city. The second one was Jaipur walled city. So I chose these two cities specifically because the character was similar. The study area was somewhat similar. And since both of these are walled cities, it was like a direct match to my study area as well. So the identified issues were poor public convenience facilities, encroachment by local vendor and parked vehicles, then lack of designated pickup and drop-off points, and there was no dedicated infrastructure for IPT, which is also similar to my study area as well. And there were no designated or planned routes for IPT within these walled cities. So to solve these issues, different proposals and different interventions were provided by the authorities of these two walled cities. So for Udaipur walled city, the proposals provided were modernized IPT system, GPS enabled BS3, BS4, and three-wheelers and four-wheelers were for better control and monitoring system were introduced, and there was like real-time information dissemination, and like basically more and more ITS related solutions were provided from the authority for the management, for the efficient management and control of the movement of IPT in these areas. Then smart car parking was also introduced outside the wall city boundaries. In Jaipur Walled City, there were multiple proposals like pedestrianization, PBS system, universal access was provided. Then electrical vehicles were introduced, especially in IPTs and rickshaws like the e-rickshaws. Then smart parking and smart signages were introduced. And then there were smart auto taxi stands and app for IPT and taxi. Then the parameters identified from the case studies were, so from the Udaipur Wall City, the parameters that I identified for my research were road network characteristics, traffic characteristics, travel characteristics, IPT infrastructure, and traffic management. And from the Jaipur World City were socioeconomic profile, road network characteristics, traffic characteristics, travel characteristics, IPT infrastructure, and traffic management. So for the purpose of problem formulation, there were three major steps that were conducted, and on the basis of these three, the major problem formulation was done. The first one was literature review. So the existing research on roles of IPT in walled cities was done, and several papers were studied, and even case studies were done. And from that, I got to understand the issues and problems. And for that, I also refer to the completed projects, which are already done in the field of IPT and urban planning and transportation planning, so that I could understand how I can analyze the area and then provide proposals for the issues identified. Then was the RECO survey. So multiple site visits and interviews were done with local people, and then to observe the real life situation, site visits were conducted. Then case studies. So there were two case studies, Jaipur Wall City and Udaipur Wall City. Then the methodology. So initially, the first task was the identification of problem, and to do that, I had to finalize a study area. And after finalizing a study area, literature review and case studies were done on the basis of the study area, and then the objectives and aim was formulated. Then the next step after formalization of the aim and objective was data collection. So for data collection, there was primary data and secondary data, both were collected. So for the purpose of primary data collection, surveys like OD survey, RECO survey, TVC survey, interviews, travel speed survey, speed delay survey, and other surveys were done. And for secondary data purposes, maps, reports, documents from RTO, documents and reports from development authorities and municipalities were collected. Then next step in the methodology was data analysis and references. Then a SWOC was prepared, and after that, proposals and planning interventions were provided. And for the purpose of data analysis, there were 5 parameters which were taken out from the inferences of the case studies. And the analysis included 5 parameters. The first one was road network characteristics, travel characteristics, and then was traffic characteristic, IPT infrastructure, and traffic management. So after conducting the speed delay survey, so for the purpose of doing the speed delay survey, 12 streets were identified, and these were identified from the ZDP and the report conducted by DUAC. So out of that, 12 streets were selected, and out of those 12 streets, after doing the speed delay survey, 5 streets were identified as the most congested streets. The first one was Ajmeri Gate Road, second was Chavdi Bazaar Road, third was Nai Sadak, fourth was Urdu Bazaar Road, and the fifth one was Swami Vivekananda Marg. So these 5 streets are identified as the most problematic if we are talking in reference to the IPT movement. Then on these 5 streets, classic TVC survey was done, and the major.
Last 2 minutes to wind up your.
Sure. So these so multiple issues are identified from TVC survey. Then to understand the socioeconomic profile of the operators, and as well as the information regarding the users of IPT, surveys were conducted, and in this there were 2 surveys, IPT operator survey and IPT user survey. In this information was collected, and from this it was observed that the major issues were that it was an unorganized mode. There was lack of infrastructure provision by authorities. There was heavy competition due to a large fleet size. Then the price was controlled by contractors. There was no provision of stands. There were undefined routes and fare, and there was a lack of economic stability for drivers. Then after doing the complete analysis, multiple issues were identified, and for solving these issues, proposals were provided. So the proposals provided for the improvement of this were route management, new IPT policies and framework, the enhanced usage of ITS and IPT management, then provision of IPT infrastructure, financing of IPTs, fare fixation, and junction redesign. So in the end, I would like to conclude that IPT, even though isn't formalized, it serves a huge population in India, and it can be the key link between a successful public transportation system in India. And through this research, what was aimed was that to uh, to establish the role of IPT and to establish IPT as a key link between MRTS and people. So it can bridge the gap which is currently there in the existing system. And recommendations, proposals were provided in order to uplift the IPT system in that particular area for a new and efficient IPT system. And after site-specific studies and analysis with additions as per requirement of the study area, similar recommendations can be implemented in other world cities of India as well. So, sir, with this, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Rishi,
Welcome, sir.
for the presentation. I mean, one observation from my part. I mean, your work is quite a lot of case study based. I mean, it's based on quite a lot of ifs and buts. I actually belong from Udaipur, so I know the situation of the place there,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? So the work is still going on. It's a work still in progress. But nevertheless, it was a decent presentation. Though I would suggest that future, only for your reference, just don't try to read it out from the presentations. Just try to use your own words in your own sentences. Dr. Abhishek sir, any observation from your part, sir?
Yeah, Rishi, this was a good presentation. I have just one query. Like you said, you collected primary data and secondary data from the maps and sources, and from the authorities, you collected some map and some data.
Yes,
So
sir.
my only question is like how difficult or easy it was for you to get the data from the authorities, because normally the kind of data you want, either they don't have in that format or they might be not willing to give you. So what was your experience in collecting that data?
Sir, actually, when I went to the authorities for the collection of the data, they simply asked me to not ask them for the data. They just asked me that whatever data is available on the website, you can use that. So when I went to the website and I checked all the data that they had uploaded, so most of the data that I wanted was already there. And since I was working on Shahjahanabad, so I already knew that I won't be getting that specific data because of the huge footfall that there is there all the time. So it is even difficult for the government authorities which are there to collect that much amount of data. So basically, most of the data that I collected was from online reports published by the government authorities which are there. And data like problematic streets and these things I got from the interviews conducted by officials uh, in the offices, government offices. And other than that, I got information regarding the infrastructure services. That was something that I got quite easily from the authorities, since they are working on the infrastructure part, like the parking spaces and the construction of road length, and these information I got quite easily.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So thank you. All the best. All
Welcome.
the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you
So
so
this
much.
was part of your PhD work or what?
So this was for my thesis. So the project is like it's very huge project. I did it, and like I also prepared a complete report on this. So I couldn't like add all the data in the presentation since it was just for 10 minutes. But I have tried to add it completely in the research paper.
Yeah. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Please unshare your screen. Thank you. Next is paper ID 72. Mr. Abhishek. Paper ID 72.
It's Arunava, sir.
Arunava.
Arunava, yeah.
Arunava. Okay.
Is the screen visible, sir?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Yeah, just make it in the full screen mode.
Yes. So should I start, sir?
Please.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I am here. I am Arunava Poddar, presenting the paper ID 72. That is the title of the topic is Assessment of Sustainable Public Transportation Provisions in Himachal Pradesh, India. I have worked this as my master's thesis topic, and I have assessed the safety assessments of the place, that is Himachal Pradesh. So in this presentation, there will be introduction, literature review, problem formulation, methodology, and then resultant discussions and conclusion and references. So introducing the topic that as we know, Himachal Pradesh is a hilly area, and in hills there are the vehicles, they are more prone to accidents because of various reasons. As we can see in the screen that 1.25 million deaths in worldwide occur every year, that is 8 to 10% in the road-based deaths. So in traffic, in industry or traffic transportation area, where in hilly regions, mostly the accidents occur, including the public transportation, that is very much with the help of public transportation, there are the accidents do occur. So the study is properly focused on public transportation, that is the safety of public transportation of the people, though those who are acquainted with public transportation and use the public transportation. So in this study, it has been tried to focus on the survey, or based on a survey, that is people, how much they use or how they can be given a safe public transportation facility. So some of the precautions that can be taken, that was gained from the literature review, was that GIS can improve public safety hazards with many available tools and methodologies. Pavement conditions can be improved, and timely application of pavement maintenance can be done to improve the, or be safe, or have accident free public transportation facility for the people. But in Himachal Pradesh, the main public transportation facility is given by Himachal Road Transportation Corporation, where public and private buses are being used. So mostly accident pattern was analyzed, that is the data was collected mostly from the police stations and from the previous literatures. The data were collected and a questionnaire was formulated, with the help of which peoples were surveyed. One-to-one survey was conducted, as because the research scholars, we as a research scholar went to people in Himachal Pradesh where they can be questioned various questions, and then the data was collected, and then a qualitative and quantitative analysis were performed. So the questions were like, how old are you and the other members of your households? Then, are you a caregiver for a person over age 60 or with a disability while traveling? Then what are the disability peoples, what are the advantages to them? Then various other things that they will provide, they will prefer MRTS or not in Himachal Pradesh if constructed in future, and what type of buses they prefer, that private or public, and what are the various buses they prefer, that is old or new, or AC buses, that is the Volvo buses that ply on various routes, various origin and destinations. Then if you do not use the bus, then why not, why don't they use? Then how would they rank the bus facilities in Himachal Pradesh, and do they feel safe or not? So based on this, there were various percentage of peoples, because various age groups were analyzed, and based on that percentage, people use mode of public transportations, that is buses, taxis, and MRTs, and very less percentage of people use the train facility that has been given over here in Himachal Pradesh. So based on that, there were various results, that various reasons of unsafe travels were that rash driving, as because, and in night driving, drivers use drinking, they drink and then drive, and because of that various accidents takes place. So the main findings were that people of different income groups have different priorities, and higher income people prefer safety, comfort, and less traveling time. However, lower income people like less traveling cost, less traveling time, and safety. And lower income people compromises with comfort, so they rank the HRTC facility as an excellent facility. However, massive challenge in Himachal Pradesh is that only fulfill the needs of all groups of people. Security is essential for all groups of people, providing safe and less cost public transportation. So people prefer public transportation, but the safety is always neglected, as because there are various old buses that are plying on this routes of hilly regions, and if the old buses are being replaced by some new buses, then the facilities might be improved, can be improved, and people will have a good facility, and based on that the safety of the people will also not be compromised. So based on the study, the conclusions were that the present study concludes that transport management in Himachal Pradesh state is out of gear, with high congestion in major tourist areas, and there are lack of parking facilities, and because of that high rate of accidents take place, and pollution because of the transportation system is increasing day by day in this hilly region. It is also argued that most of the problems could be solved with the introduction of economic instruments like taxation on old polluting vehicles, incentives that discourages private owners, as vehicles are very much flying and people discourage to using public transportation, and because of the private transportation being used, as that's why very much congestion occurs in weekends, and which sometimes causes accidents, as use of vehicles subsidizing the use of public transportation and integrating transport with urban planning. So further it was concluded from people's response that the most critical supply appreciation sub aspects are safety, travel time, punctuality. Then people's satisfaction is explained weekly by supply, travel, and traveler characteristics. Therefore, the main conclusion is that much interpersonal bias occurs, which means that different travelers show different satisfactions. The results show that higher people's dignity can be obtained if the following points are implemented in public transportation management system. Then lastly, the offer better, and the appreciation may be higher with the improvement of travel time, frequency, punctuality, people's friendliness, and driving style, as because thus the needs concerning speed and comfort are also important. So the whole transportation system should be made safe by preventing crowding and increasing traveler satisfaction to frequent travelers. These were the references. Thank you, and suggestions.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Anurag Poddar.
Yes, sir.
Abhishek sir, any observations, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Arunava. It was a nice presentation. My one suggestion would be like you have given the references in the numbers during your presentation. That
Yes.
might be a referencing style which you are following in your dissertation or your thesis. But while making the presentation, rather giving the numbers, if you can put the name of the authors, that would be rather that would appear much better. So that is my one suggestion. And the second is like my one query was like you said that you prepared a questionnaire and then you collected the data from the based on your questionnaire survey that you did. So what
Yes.
was the sample size for the survey that you selected, or
Sir,
how many responses you were able to get?
Sir, 50,000 persons.
50,000 persons you surveyed across the entire state, or it was a selected city where you did this survey?
No, sir. Mostly it was in Shimla and Manali and Mandi. But the future scope of this study is that we can work in a particular city, that is Shimla and Manali, so that specific or more particular responses can be taken and then analyzed, because it has a broader scope, future scope.
And,
That is.
and what was the duration of your survey? Like in how many days you were able to collect this?
6 months were required, because some of the surveys were taken through email and some through one-to-one survey.
Interaction. Okay. Okay. Shika. Okay. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arunava. Please share your screen. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite paper ID 74, Dhanchan. Paper ID 74, Dhanchan.
Yes, sir. I will
Arunava,
share.
please share your screen. Yeah. Ranjan, please share your screen.
Yes, sir.
Any issue, Mr. Ranjan?
I'm okay, sir. I'm sharing now. Okay, is it visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible.
Yes.
Okay,
So you
sir.
have 10 minutes. Time
Okay,
starts
sir.
now.
Okay, sir. I'm Dhanachan Thokchom. My title of the paper is Impact of Runway Configuration on Flight Delays. My topic is more related to airport engineering. So in the content, we have introduction, literature review, problem formulation, methodology, results, and conclusion, and last reference. Introduction with configuration. Configuration is the number of runways and their relative orientation in F. So there are four basic type of runway configuration. They are single, parallel, intersecting, and open bay runways. And nowadays, flight delays is one of the important indicators of the performance of any airlines in the air transportation system. So according to the US Bureau of Transportation Statistics, the ratio of flight delays increased from 14.69 to 20.8 in the past decades. So so we have to so since there is an increase in the flight globally, so we have to address these issues. So I have collected the data from the US airports, and I will do the two-way ANOVA. So this will help in the bringing the better understanding between the runway configuration and flight delays. So flight delays, we have runway configuration. We have four types of runway configuration. The first one is a single runway configuration. We have only one runway configuration. Then this is ideal for like small airports and like that. And the second, we have parallel runway configuration. This is mainly done for like large airports. And
Mr. Ranjan, we have limited time. Please don't put too much emphasis on the simple concepts. Try to come to like what work you have done in your techniques.
okay, sir. So these are the literature reviews. So I will scan the program formulations. The flight delays a huge thing for the airlines. So there are many factors like bad weather conditions and other technical failures, but we have to see other factors as well. There is runway configuration a factor for flight delays. So I'm using two-way ANOVA test to compare the runway configuration with respect to flight delays. So I'm using two-way ANOVA test by taking the data from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics of I'm collecting the data of US airports. So I have two tests. I have three hypotheses. There's the first hypothesis is that all the runway configurations are equal and the alternative is not equal. And the second is that hub and non-hub airports are equal and in alternative there is not equal. And the third hypothesis, I have significant interaction between configuration and hub classification. And in the alternate, there is significant interaction. In methodology, so I have collected the data of various airports from USA. 40 airports are selected with different runway configurations. And we have I have classified the runway into single, intersecting, non-intersecting, and combination, because we don't have like only open V or parallel runway configuration in actual airports. So we have to configure in this way. So we have single. If there is only one runway, then we can set them as singular. And if they are intersecting, we can set them as non-intersecting. And if they are non-intersecting, we can set them as non-intersecting. And for combination, if there is combination of airports between intersecting runway configuration and the non-intersecting runway configuration, then we will classify them as combination runway. And for hub classification, according to FAA, they are classified as hub, non-hub airports. So these are the data I have collected for the 40 airports. Delay data of 2021 in percentage. For data analysis, I have done two-way ANOVA in the SPSS software. So the two-way ANOVA is done at the 0.05 alpha level, and this is the descriptive statistics for the delay data. Here we have the mean and the standard deviation and the number of hub type, non-hub type, and all this. And we have the this is the graph of the estimated marginal means of delay data. In this graph we have different lines. Then each line represents one runway configuration. So we have to see if they like cross each other. So they are almost parallel to each other. If they are parallel to each other, they are said that there is no interaction between them. But if they intersect, there is some interaction. But here there is no interaction, but this combination runway is somewhat not parallel, but it does not interact with one. There may be some interaction, but they are not significant in nature. So here, this is the error bar graph descriptive. So we have the blue one with the hub type and the orange one with the non-hub type. So here we have the error. So we have to see if the error line overlap each other, so or they are very far from each other. So if they are very far from each other, then there is much significance, because significant difference between them. But here we can see that there is no significant difference between them, because they are almost overlapping to each other. So there is no much significance difference between the errors of this. And this is the main two-way ANOVA output. So we have to see the p value, significance value here. Then this for the runway, I have considered three hypotheses. So then the first one 0.614 we get, and the second we have 0.772, and third 0.987. So these all three are greater than 0.05 that we have considered while doing the analysis of variance. That means 0.05 alpha level. So we have to see that the p value is less than or greater than the alpha level, because if they are less than the p value, then we will reject the hypothesis. But if they are greater, then we will not reject the null hypothesis. The results and discussion. So we have the significance levels written here: 0.614 for the runway configuration, for the hub type 0.772, and the runway and the hub where we have 0.987. So we have the alpha level of 0.05. All the significance levels p value are greater than the alpha level. So all the three null hypotheses are failed to be rejected. So the first one is primarily focused on the runway configuration, on the interaction between the runway configurations. And the second hypothesis is focused on the interaction between the hub.
Please try to wrap it up in next 1 minute.
Sir.
Please try to wrap the presentation in next 1 minute.
So representation.
Yes.
This one. No?
I'm saying we have limited time. Please try to wrap the presentation in the next 1 minute.
Okay. So we have rejected all null hypothesis. And the three null hypotheses. There is no post hoc test can be required because all the three null hypotheses are failed to be rejected. So in the conclusion, we have the study concluded that I have selected the data for airports with more than 10,000 passengers annually. So for that, no specific runway configuration will play a significant role in flight delays. So for reducing the flight delay data, no further studies among the 4 types of runway configuration in the USA is required. But this will be very helpful if we consider the airports from other world as well. And lastly, the concept of circular runway configuration may be adopted on trial basis. So we can see that this improves the runway configuration because now the 4 basic runway configuration did not play a significant role in the flight delay. So we can try the new type of runway configuration, the circular runway configuration or endless runway configuration. And though it is still an idea, so we can try it on a trial basis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Danchan.
Yes, sir.
Just one observation from my part, and I have actually one question as well. First,
yes, sir.
You need to actually work on your presentation skills. So just literally reading through it. Right, and second, that could you please elaborate that what is novel about your work? You have presented a bit of a literature review and explained it also, but what makes your work different from the one which you have surveyed or which you have reviewed?
So this one, like in the literature review said they have developed many algorithms to optimize runway configurations like that, but the previous research they don't actually consider runway configuration itself as a factor for flight delays, but they are developing algorithms to delay flight delays, but they are not considering this this as a factor for flight delays. So I'm now considering this runway configuration has a factor for flight delays and testing it has any significance to the flight delays.
Okay, Abhishek sir, any observation from your part, sir?
Yeah, Kanchan, thank you for your presentation. I'm just trying to figure out because runway flight delay could be a reason of n number of factors, and you have considered only 2 or 3 factors like runway configuration, hub type, and then interaction of runway and hub type. So there could be n other reasons, many reasons which are further interacting with these parameters. So I would suggest you to consider all those parameters that could be identified from your literature survey, that what are the factors which could be contributing to your flight delays, and then taking all those factors and then doing this analysis, that would be more fruitful rather than working on just 2 or 3 parameters. That's my only suggestion.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dhanchan. Please unshare your screen.
Okay.
Now, our next presenter is paper ID 131, Mr. Sunil Chauhan. Sunil, paper ID 131, Mr. Sunil.
Yes, sir.
So please,
I'm audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please share your screen.
Is it visible, sir?
Not yet. It is not yet visible, sir.
Please
will
share
try.
again. Yeah.
Sir, I will try again.
No, please, it happens sometimes. No issues. It is showing that it is sharing, but it's not being shared. There seems to be some network issue, I guess. No issues. You may please wait. Right? Could be some connectivity or network issue.
Sir, I will
Right?
try again.
No problem. No problem. Meanwhile, I'll call the next in line. Paper ID 133. Miss Anjana R. Menon.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Sorry, Anjana ji. Sunil
Okay.
ji has shared his PPT. Thank you. Sorry for the trouble.
Is it visible?
Yes,
now?
please, it is completely clearly visible. Please put it on full screen mode.
Yes. Hello. Sir, my present topic is effect of adding polyethylene terephthalate to dense bituminous macadam mixes using by dry process. So content are introduction, literature review, methodology, result, and
Please make it full screen. It's not
Press
full screen.
F5. Press F5. It will be on full screen mode.
sir, it says full screen on my screen.
Here it is showing not.
Yeah, we can see the other slides as well. आप एक बार नीचे ये देखिए जो स्लाइड शो
नहीं सर, मैंने नहीं कर दिया है सर वो.
चलिए ठीक है, आप शुरू करिए.
So come to the introduction part. The premature failure of bituminous pavement in India is mainly occurring due to the inability of conventional bituminous mixes to sustain repeated application of wheel load and significant variation in seasonal temperatures. Due to this, pavements have been responsible for the early development of distresses like undulation, rutting, cracking, bleeding of bituminous surface. Due to increased bitumen demand and the scarcity of high quality bitumen, it is necessary to reduce the bitumen consumptions. So with an increase in population, so does the production of various waste items. Plastic, a daily use material, causes environmental problem after its usage. Waste plastic have a long life due to their non-biodegradable characteristics. Depending on the kind of waste plastic, an uncontrolled burning process produce a variety of dangerous air pollutants also. Thermal treatment recycle the plastic in the second application, and each thermal treatment degrades the quality of the plastic to some extent. The wet and dry method, there are two methods. The most common ways to utilize discarded plastic in the road construction. Waste plastic is mixed with bitumen in wet process, whereas
Sunil,
yes sir.
Sorry to interrupt. The slides are not moving. Which
Sir,
slide you are?
but sir, it shows moving on my desktop.
Now it has moved to next slide. Yeah. Now it is on slide 5. You are no? You are on
Yes,
slide
sir.
5. Okay. Continue, please.
So there are basically two methods. First one is wet process, and another one is dry process. Wet process, where aggregates are coated with waste plastic before being used in bituminous mixes in the dry method. The kind and dosage of plastic used impact the behavior of asphalt mixes, and these attributes can be enhanced by employing the dry process. The use of PET coated aggregate in asphalt mixes improve fatigue resistance, which help to improve the durability pavements under severe loading conditions. The material used in this study is asphalt. Asphalt material utilized in the investigation was procured from the IOCL Panipat refinery. Various engineering properties were determined as per Indian standard as given below. According to this table, penetration value is measure value 53, and it's and according to IS 73 is minimum 45. So this is our softening point. Its measure value is 49, ductility value 58, flash point 260, specific gravity 1.01, and absolute viscosity 2980. So these are all under the IS 73 limits. The second one is aggregate. So characteristics of aggregate play an important role in durability of road. So the various properties are observed like particle shapes, strength, durability, water absorption, stripping, density. So all the values are within the safe limits. Next material is the mineral filler. According to the MoTH 2013 standard, mineral fillers with a 2.25 specific gravity and grading as listed in table below table. So these are the grading for filler material. Now come to the modifier. As here we use the PET plastic. This is the basically the plastic bottles were shredded into pieces between 600 micron to 2.36 mm before being added to the mixture. The physical characteristics of plastic paste are displayed given in below table. Size is 600 micron to 2.36 mm. Density is 1.24 and the smelting temperature 170 to 180. So these are the basically the proportioning for dense bituminous macadam grade 2 mix. Now come to the methodology part. The next we prepare the mold preparation.
Sunilji, your slides are not moving. We can still only see the introduction part only, I guess.
No, sir, I am on mold preparation now. It's slide number 12. It's a mold preparation.
Actually, they are only saying the introduction slide on.
What it shows now, sir? Slide.
Now it is on slide
saying
41.
introduction.
So again, I will try.
You can share again, just unshare and then share again.
Now what it shows, sir?
Yeah, now it is slide. It is mold preparation. Yeah.
Yes, sir. The proportioning of material affect the mechanical and volumetric properties of bituminous mixtures. As demonstrated in previous table, the material proportioning for dense bituminous macadam was carried out. Now we take a 1200 gram of material was used to create the Marshall specimen. Bitumen concentration varied between 4.1 and 4.9 with 0.2% increment. Separately, the bitumen aggregate were heated to 150 degrees Celsius and 170 degrees Celsius. Once the bitumen was suitably covered over the aggregate, filler materials was added after the materials had been well mixed to create a homogeneous mixture. Then we add the filler lime that has been hydrated was added at the end of mixing to control the voids in the mixture. When the liquid was uniform and ready to be put into the Marshall mold, mixing continued at 160 degrees centigrade. Then 75 hammer blows were used.
Sunilji, you have 3 more minutes to wind up your presentation.
Okay, sir. So these are the samples. Then Marshall stability test. Then this another test is retained stability. It is a ratio of Marshall stability of conditioned sample to the Marshall stability of unconditioned samples. Then indirect tensile strength test. Then come to the wheel tracking test. Then these are the results. Marshall stability value of modified mixtures increases up to 10%. The PET concentration when we increase up to 10%, and thereafter it's a drop the stability value. So these are basically the various bitumen contents. First one is 4.1, then 4.3, then 4.5. Now come to the flow value. Modified mixes are attributed to fatigue cracking going to increase stiffness up to 10%. Then come to the higher Marshall quotient. Then the retained stability, increase in retained stability up to 12%. PET content as shown in figure 7 indicate that PET content improve the adhesion between aggregate and the bitumen. After 12% is decreases. Then indirect tensile strength, it's also up to 10% PET content. It shows the results. After that, it will also decrease. Then optimum bitumen contents is comes out 4.82%, whereas 4.50% at 10% PET. rating performance, rating behavior of conventional and modified mixes at optimum bitumen content as shown in figure. These are the rating. Then come to the conclusion part. The goal of the study was to see how dense bituminous macadam grade 2 would react when polythene terephthalate was added using dry process. The mechanical properties required for an ideal bituminous mixes were assessed. Marshall stability has improved up to 10% PET concentration. The stability of modified mixtures demonstrate higher adherence. The flow value of modified mixes increase up to dose of PET 10% and decreases thereafter. Marshall constant of modified mixture is higher, which fulfills the condition of stiff bituminous mixes. High retained stability of modified mixes increases the durability of flexible pavement. With the addition of PAT to DBM mixes, the quantity of ideal bitumen content was lowered to 6.64%. When compared to traditional mixes, the rating performance is also superior. Hence, for safe disposal of non-biodegradable waste plastic, the present study is helpful for better durability of pavement along with environment-friendly solutions. Thank you. These are the references. Hello.
Thank you, Sunil, for
Yeah.
your presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, any observations from your part?
Yeah, Sunil, thanks for your presentation. I mean, we have discussed a very important topic, use of waste plastic in the bituminous mixes.
Yes, sir.
It's very interesting to listen to your presentation. I just have few queries.
Yes,
First
sir.
of all, because the PET that you have used, it has a higher melting point around 230 to 40.
Yes, sir.
So in the dry process, when you're making the mixes at a temperature of 160, 170, this PET would not melt. So how did you address this problem during your mixing, or do you actually face this problem or not?
Sir, it actually happens. The problem those you discussed.
Yeah, then it is not actually being melted, then it would be only working as a filler or as a part of aggregate. Okay, and because for this reason, like IRC does not allow the use of PET in the bituminous mixes, only HDP and LDP are being allowed. So this is what my suggestion is. And second is like during your presentation again, you have shown the references in numbers.
Yes, sir.
It could be a good your referencing style for the thesis work. But
Yes,
when
sir.
you're presenting it, then you should actually use the author's name or the actual code title
Yes,
or code number. That would be more appealing and more better when you present it.
Yes, sir. I will be noted it.
Yeah, please. And please do check like how do you
Okay.
address this problem.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next is paper ID 133, Anjana. Anjana R. Menon.
Hello, sir.
Hello, ma'am. Please share your screen now.
Yeah. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
So good afternoon, all. I'm Anjana R. Menon. I'm a research scholar at NIT Calicut. I'm here today to present my findings on a numerical parametric study on time-dependent response of GeoCell reinforced flexible payments. So these are the brief contents of my presentation today. And as a little introduction, we all know the mechanism behind flexible pavement. So it's the layered theory, which says that the stress and deformation in one layer will get transferred to another layers as well. So if there is a weak layer anywhere in between, it will reflect as a crack on the surface. So it is essential to reinforce any weak layer if it is there in between. So among the various techniques of improvement, geosynthetic reinforcement is such a popular and most efficient technique. And there are different types of geosynthetic reinforcement in planar and cellular forms. It has been used in other applications also, and in pavements also. Studies have been proven that geocell, that is the cellular forms, appeal to be better than the planar forms, that is the geogrid. So this is due to the additional confinement effect offered by the geocell walls. And the main mechanism behind geocell reinforced soil is, there are two mechanisms, white slab mechanism and membrane action. So the white slab mechanism refers to the rigid slab-like action of the composite joint formed by the soil and geocell, which widens the low dispersion angle. So as a result, the stresses on the lower layers get reduced. And the membrane action refers to the tensile stress which is developed on the surface upon loading, which enables the membrane to take up a proportion of the imposed load. So it is in this context we have formulated the problem, that is, considering the proven role of geocells in improving the performance of pavement, we are assessing the time-dependent response with the study on various influential parameters. So in the study, we are assessing the effect of various material characteristics also, that is of base material, there are properties of subgrade material, and that of geosynthetic. And apart from that, we are assessing the effect of geocell geometry, that is aspect ratio of geocell also. So in both cases, we are assessing the effect in terms of white slab mechanism and membrane action. That is, we are assessing what is the effect of each parameter on white slab mechanism and that on membrane action separately. So this is a pavement profile which we are assessing. It consists of a surface asphalt bearing coals followed by a granular base in which we are embedding the geocell reinforcement, and beneath which there is a subgrade. So the geocell reinforcement is made of a non-woven geotextile. We have a laboratory scale down specimen which we are using. We have used non-woven geotextile for that, and the pockets are stitched likewise. And using the scale down specimen, we are tracing out the coordinates so as to develop the numerical model as shown in the figure here. So these are the properties of materials used, the infill material or base material B, subgrade S, and geocell G. So these are the basic material properties. And with respect to this, we are varying the properties of base, subgrade, and geocell. So coming to the loading conditions, we know the loading conditions are very important to assess the performance. So in this study, we are using single axle load of 40 kilonewton, which generates a contact pressure of 595 kP on each of the two tires. These properties we have adopted from a literature. And the actual shape of contact area is elliptical, but it is very common to approximate it to an equivalent rectangle. So we also have adopted this in our study. And to simulate the vehicular traffic, the same load was applied for 1000 cycles with a cycle length of 0.01 seconds. And these are the mesh characteristics. You can see the asphalt coals, the base with the geocell reinforcement, and the subgrade. So all the soil layers are modeled using linear brick elements with reduced integration, that is just regular stress elements. So whereas the geocell or geosynthetic material is modeled using a linear elastic behavior and using membrane elements with reduced integration. So coming to the parametric study, first of all, as I already explained, we are assessing the performance, effect of various material characteristics, that is infill material is varied when B1, B2, B3, that is 3 different types of infill material are used. Then again, the effect of S1, S2, S3, that is 3 different subgrade materials and 3 different geocell materials. So apart from that, we are also assessing the effect of geocell wall height. So what is shown here is 3 different height of geocell embedded in the granular layer of 0.7 meter thick. So 0.5 meter is high geocell wall, 0.4 meter is medium height, and 0.2 meter is a low geocell wall. So this is a summary of the parametric study. So I will explain this. This low, medium, and high are denoted by L, M, and H. So for example, L, B1, SG refers to the study on low height geocell with the subgrade and geocell characteristics are of the basic parameters, wherein B1, B2, B3, that is, we are varying the infill material characteristics here. Sorry. And the next 3 sessions, next 3 trials are G1, G2, G3, wherein we are varying the geocell characteristics. All other properties are remaining constant. At a time, only one parameter is varied. And then we are varying the subgrade characteristics. And then the whole set of trials are repeated for the 3 heights, that medium and high geocell wall. So now coming to the results and discussion, as I said, we are assessing the time-dependent behavior concerning the white slab effect and membrane action under 3 different aspect ratios of geocell for effect of various pavement components. So first of all, we are assessing the subgrade deformation with respect to time. And this is the effect of geocell wall height. So we can see that for medium and high wall geocell, the maximum vertical strain increases and then almost remains constant, and the magnitude is also comparable. Whereas for a low wall geocell, there is very much high fluctuations there, and the strain is also high. So with an aspect ratio as low as 0.4, the white slab mechanism is not much efficient. That is, if the white slab mechanism is efficient, the stress and strains would be less. So considering the meager variation in strain levels, an optimum aspect ratio of 0.8 can be adopted. So next thing is the subray deformation, the effect of base characteristics. So considering this graph, we can say that there is an effect for base characteristics. That is, when we are using a denser base material with high friction angle, the maximum strain is less. So with an increase in friction, the interface friction characteristics also improve. So the soil geocell composite becomes more rigid, and hence the maximum strain will be less. So the next thing is the effect of stiffness of geosynthetic on subgrade deformation. Here also it can be seen that the vertical strain is in direct relation to the stiffness of geosynthetic. In this graph, we can say that for a geosynthetic with higher stiffness, the vertical strain is less. And comparing these three graphs, here also we can see that in case of a low wall geocell, whatever geosynthetic which we are using, if the height is less, the fluctuations are more. So this again indicates the inefficiency of low wall height in the stress transfer. And the fourth one is the effect of subgrade strength on subgrade deformation. So it is also, the magnitude of deformation is inversely proportional to the subgrade cohesion. This is as expected because soft subgrades means higher compressibility, so which indicates there will be a higher immediate settlement. So here also the fluctuations in case of low wall height is visible. And the second parameter compared is the surface deformation. So the deformation is least for a high wall geocell and the most for low wall geocell. And the third thing is the membrane action. So first two compares the white slab mechanism, and the third parameter compares the assess the membrane action of the reinforcement, that is the magnitude of shear stress mobilized on the geosynthetic reinforcement. So it can be seen here that the membrane action is directly related to the geometry. So for high wall geocell, the shear stress developed is maximum. The pattern is almost same for all the three, but magnitude of shear stress is directly related to the stiffness. So it is expected because increase in wall height elevates the effective area of a geocell. So more tension is developed in the mat.
Ma'am, last 2 minutes. Please,
Okay.
trying to wrap it up soon.
Yeah, okay. So this is the effect of base characteristics on membrane action. So it can be seen here that there is a negligible effect for base characteristics on membrane action. And this is the stiffness of geosynthetic. There is a direct relation. The parameter, the pattern is same for all the three cases. And the fourth thing is the effect of subgrade strength, which has a negligible or zero effect and no effect on the membrane action. And the fourth thing is the deformation of geocell walls. You can see the magnitude and pattern here. So for low wall geocell, the magnitude is more, or it shows the less rigidity of the low wall geocell. So that's all. Now, based on that, we have concluded this, that is the white slab mechanism is negligible at a low aspect ratio of 0.4. And though it is affected by the characteristics of base material, subgrade characteristics, and stiffness of geosynthetic, the aspect ratio is very important. The membrane action is purely a function of stiffness and geometry of geocell. That is, the characteristics of the geosynthetic is the only factor which affects the membrane action in a reinforcement. It is independent of the characteristics of pavement layers. And now, considering the economy and efficiency, a minimum aspect ratio of 0.8 should be adopted. And the scope for future studies, in this study, we are not including cost analysis because a reduction in thickness cannot be incorporated into this, because we are considering a constant base granular layer thickness, because we have to embed the geocell of 0.5 meter. So cost analysis can be included based on the findings from the study. And then the second thing is field studies, which can be incorporated for an overall assessment. That's all. These are the references. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed a very good and informative presentation. Quite an interesting topic as well.
Thank you, sir.
Abhishek, sir?
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for the nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just trying to understand, like you said, it is a time-dependent response of geocell.
Yes, sir.
So when you're talking about time dependent, so did you talk or consider because over a period of time, the material would also start degrading. So did you consider the decrease in strength of the material and payment layers into your response? Because I did not see that it is a time dependent. I need clarity from your side on this.
Yes, sir. For this study, we are not analyzing the I think that's what you asked, the variation in material characteristics with time, right?
Yeah, obviously they'll also start deteriorating with time.
Yeah, for this study, but however, the material characteristics are assumed to be constant.
Okay. So
but the stress developed on the membrane will be changing, and that reflects as the subgrade deformation and membrane deflection also. So in that fact, only the reflection of material characteristics will be done.
Yeah, then my suggestion is just please see like whether this can be called a time dependent response, because when you talk about time, it has to be over a period of time, and if you consider that period, then obviously you have to consider the degradation of materials also.
Okay. But in this, I have considered the response of the whole system under repetitive loading. As the number of loading cycles increase, how the total system respond, that is what analyzed.
Yeah, so all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Can I stop sharing?
Yeah, sure, please.
Please.
Now I would request paper ID 160, Vishant Kumar.
Yes, sir. So is my screen is visible?
Your screen is visible. Please
Yeah.
put it in screen mode.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Good afternoon, all. Title of my paper is Intelligent Accident Rescue System. So these are about PPT, introduction, literature. Then come to introduction. Sir, suppose there is a situation where emergency rescue is required in many domains like civil, defense, and ambulance. An accident is happen. We need to convey this information to all nearby vehicles and provide rescue to people. We can use a technology which is called SIOV to deal with this type of situation to provide an effective rescue system. So what is SIOV? In SIOV, vehicles connected with each other and share some common interest like vacant parking spaces, weather condition, traffic information. Suppose when an ambulance is carrying a patient and is moving towards a hospital, it can connect with the nearby vehicles or nearby ambulance to know a traffic condition on the way to hospital, so that if traffic is there, the ambulance get notified earlier, then it can change the route. Okay. Now the question is how SIOV can play an important role in emergency rescue system. Suppose vehicles are moving in a node. So basically, we are saying node to the node as a representation of vehicles, and they are connected together. And a vehicle met with an accident in this situation, nearby emergency vehicle can provide quick rescue to accidental vehicle. Okay, I have referred many paper, but I have seen due to time constraint in a PPT, so I only mentioned 2 authors about it. Now the problem formulation. We have studied many review paper, and we have seen that there is no such system available which can provide a quick and effective rescue. So our basic idea is to develop a simulated environment to test such situation and develop a system using SIOV, which can provide emergency support and can be useful in many domains like which I mentioned earlier, defense, ambulance, and school buses. So methodology. To develop an artificial environment, we use Sumo and Omnet++. Added, we have analyzed data collected from Omnet++ also. A Python script has been used to filter data. Basically, an ETL process has been done. So this is our project flow. Now, result and discussion. In our study, we have find that SIOV can provide a possible solution to this problem, and there is a need of minimal infrastructure because we have already dealing with high-end technologies like ADAS. We also collected simulation data to study further. These are some packet loss which we have extracted from a simulated environment. Conclusion. In this study, when the first node, basically a car which meets with an accident or a vehicle, it send a packet. We have named a packet as an accident first to radio manager, then send it to nearby other two nodes or nodes which are connected with each other. We show communication between the vehicles. This is very helpful, and if used in the real world, it could solve many problems like the problem of a school bus when stuck somewhere, or it could be very helpful in emergency situations also. We've seen many deaths in ambulance that take place daily in India because of not reaching on time. So with this, vehicle could reach on time and lives can be saved. And these are the references. Thank you, sir. If any suggestions from your side.
Thank you, Vishal. Quite crisp presentation, I must say.
Sorry?
Dr. Abhishek, sir.
Yeah, Vishal, thank you for your presentation. I have few queries like what exactly you're trying to do. I mean, I did not get the concept like that you presented. So
Okay.
briefly
Okay, sir.
explain what you.
Okay, sir. I will explain in a layman term. So suppose, sir, vehicles are moving, and we know that, sir, how to provide a rescue to an accidental vehicle. So we use a technology which is called social internet of vehicle, which is more or less similar to an IoT. We can say that basically internet of vehicles. So we design a network and connected nearby vehicles and emergency vehicles also to provide a quick support or evacuation support to the vehicle. So the problem like an ambulance is stuck in a traffic, and the patient situation can be critical. So this type of problem can be accessed with the use of these technologies.
So basically, you're talking about the network of vehicles.
So more or less.
More or less. Okay. And then you said like Sumo. Sumo is a surrogate modeling. Is that Sumo?
No, sir. No, sir. Sir, basically, sir, Sumo is a tool, sir. I mentioned that we use an artificial simulated environment. So to perform in a real world situation, we use Sumo. And we also use OpenStreetMap. Suppose, sir, we can download a map and simulate vehicles on that map using Sumo. So, sir, this is a work of Sumo.
Okay, so then my suggestion would be like you could have presented some of your screenshots from the simulated environment that you must have developed, so that your presentation could have been more interesting.
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, previously, sir, I mentioned, but sir, because of time constraints, sir, I removed that.
But that would would have been a good addition to your presentation.
Yes, sir. Sir, in my paper, I mentioned these screenshots.
Okay. So all the best. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Can I stop sharing?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Now I would like to call our last presenter for track 193, Ms. Snigdha.
Yes, sir. Share. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is visible. Please put it on full screen mode.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
Okay, so my topic is a critical review on transportation of tomorrow as a solution of the transit system to stimulate the use of public transportation to make cities livable. Okay, so the process is first introduction, then literature review, then the problem formulation, methodology, result discussion, conclusion, and references. So the first phase of this paper is basically like why we required this study. Okay, so the transportation basically helps the economic development of a region and plays a very crucial role in the urbanization. So to basically transport system or transit system affects the local and global environment in a larger ways, and due to the significant contributors to the environmental externalities, this transportation is one of the major factor of the number of pollutants. So due to the urbanization, the number of generating problems like urban sprawl, increase of trip lengths, increase of demand of private vehicles, basically, which adversely impacted on the environment in a larger scale. And to address these issues and the filling missing gaps, the number of cities have reinforced their public transport system by emerging the transit-oriented development, TOD development, to cater the mass transit transportation system. And it is very basically important to address these measures to make cities more livable, healthy, and smart. Then what are the problems? So basically with the number of extensive urban expansions and the population growth, the transportation network expanded and developed in order to cover a new urban fabrics, and which is connect them to basically the larger scale of the city. And the major concern is basically highlighted with the help of government as well. And the government of India has also introduced a variety of transportation system to overcome with the these problems, like mass rapid transit system, which is MRTS, then BRTS, bus rapid transit system, then the light rail transit system, and the TOD concept, which is transit oriented development in many of the cities to overcome the urban sprawl issues and the horizontal development and horizontal growth, which will also help in the pollution issues and the infrastructural needs which where we require basically. So this basically topic is on paper is for the Transitopia of tomorrow, means a future to revolutionize the public transit, which is basically transit services for the mass passengers. Okay, so the aim of this topic conference paper is basically to investigate the barriers and issues in urban mobility towards the decongestion around the globe, to identify the mode preferences and the behavior of the passengers for the travel preferences and the first and last mile options, to enhance basically the public transportation and improve the physical environment of the in the TOD zone. And the objective to achieve the aim is to first to examine and expose the various transportation related challenges around the globe and as well as in India. And second objective is to determine the issues and gaps in the current transit system. And third will be to suggest a viable solution to the problems at the with the investigating the current hurdles and the issues. Then the basic concept, like what is TOD? So TOD is a transit oriented development, which is basically focused around the transit node facilities come with the complete ease to the transit facilities, which includes the preferences of the people, like to walk, to communicate from one place to another. Then the principles of TOD, like with the policy which is given by NUTP, which is National Urban Transport Policy, that TOD policy is defined basically at 12 measurable indicators, which is like multimodal integration, optimized densities, traffic calming, complete streets, mixed land use, managed parking, last mile connectivity, then the interconnected street network, inclusive habitat, and empty network, and the street oriented building. So on the basis of these indicators, there are 6 sub indicators, sub attributes, which is like urban densities, land use diversities, walkable urban design. So on the basis of these, there are few case studies which I have selected for my research work. And these are the design process, like on the basis of these design techniques, the demand estimations will be finalized. So first is RECO survey, then secondary surveys, then a number of surveys like traffic TVC, traffic volume count, OD surveys, public transportation fare surveys, then the willingness to shift and willingness to pay, basically are the people really want to choose the public transportation or not. Then pedestrian survey, pedestrian interviews, road network interviews. And with the help of these type of surveys, we are able to basically identify the demand estimation, design of network, and the simulations of the traffic flow. And on these issues, we can identify the high demand corridors and finalize the route network of the particular TOD zones. So there are a number of studies basically on the basis of best case practices where this case study will be promoting with the last mile connectivity, TOD development on the different type of land uses, like in China, then there is a Singapore, Brazil. So there are lots of countries. This type of public transportation will be initiated like in a larger scale. Then this is just an overview of Singapore, like how the Singapore is one of the safest and most environmentally sustainable cities in the world with respect to the public transportation. Then these are the challenges faced in the Singapore, like first is growing population and economy. Then second is very tighter land constraints. Then the changing expectations and norms on the basis of commuter-centric and the inclusive transport system. Then manpower crunch, which is like a shortage of public transportation, logistics, and the drivers. And then the aging population also, because there is a variations of ages as well. And to overcome this, there are a number of policies were given by the government to overcome with the solutions. So on the basis of all the solutions, these challenges will be covered. Then second is Hong Kong. So the first, Hong Kong is one of the world's top cities for sustainable public transportation, where the percentage of using of this public transportation is 81%. And the model which they have implemented in this Hong Kong city is like R+P model, which is rail and property model, where they have basically focused the infrastructure on the alignment of these rail with the property development. And on the
ma'am, please try to have the presentation
yes,
in next 1.5 minutes.
So you're not audible.
Ma'am, request you to please refer the presentation in next 1.5 minutes.
Yes, definitely. So on the basis of these model, the air quality index also is very nice, very good in the Hong Kong city. Then these 5 principles they have Hong Kong cities have adopted, like density, 5Ds principle: density, then destination accessibility, then design, then distance to transit, and diversity. Then these are the case studies from globally. Now the public transportation in India. So on the basis of a few case studies, these are the challenges we faced in India. Like first is scarcity of urban land, then dense neighborhood, then gentrifications, then unequal access, then strict building codes, and the inefficient parking management. So to overcome these challenges, these are the issues and barriers we have identified through the different case studies and literature reviews. So first is lack of adequate infrastructure and services reliability. Second is unsafe walking environment. Third is waiting time and the absence of direct routes for the feeder services. Then fourth is low frequencies of metro services. Fifth is lack of adequate economic model interchange options. Then sixth will be quality and facilities which is available at the transit nodes. Seventh is overcrowding during the peak hours, and eighth will be the high cost of the last mile options. So to overcome the study, to overcome the issues and the barriers, the lessons will be like local area planning for the TODs. We are supposed to give a plan for the regional scale level to give a provision for the level of stations area plannings. Then second is strategic intensifications around the transit corridors, like whatever the infrastructures development is done, which is nearby the transit corridors, and then the design of public spaces along the station development. And the conclusion of this paper is basically on the by providing a comparison to the best practices around the world, proposing a roadmap for the cities to overcome the challenges and major difficulties like connectivity, congestion, affordability, safety, and impact of environment. And the fundamental development dilemma of this users is to how to get high quality services at low cost. And for the public transit transportation system, like will be the one of the mass transit pertaining to the urban mobility as a sustainable solution. Thank you. These are the references, and that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed quite an elaborative presentation, no doubt. It shows the hard work that you have put. Abhishek, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Snigdha, for your presentation.
Thank you.
I have few queries, like is it a purely academic exercise, or you are doing it with some organization or some institution?
No, sir, this is basically a research-based project.
Okay, so it's a part of your academic work, that's what I got.
Am I audible?
It's part of your research
Yeah, this
work.
is basically a part of my research project in PhD.
Okay, so then my next question would be, you have identified the issues and barriers that you have in the transit oriented development that you are proposing, but you did not
Yes.
mention like how you are going to overcome those barriers and those issues, because those issues are going to be there anyway. So how you are going to overcome them and propose a TOD sort of thing that you propose? So that has not been identified, or that has not been shown in the presentation, or I'm not sure whether I missed it.
Yes, sir. Basically, I have highlighted the major points, like on what basis I have to work on my complete research work.
Yeah, so you highlighted the issues. So you are still thinking on like how you would overcome those issues. Is that the stage? Hello? Hello?
Snigdha ma'am? Hello?
Hello? Yeah?
Snigdha ma'am?
Hello, am I audible? Someone has
Yes, yes,
muted
yes.
me. I don't know why.
Might be.
So my question was, so you are in the stage of still seeking like how you would overcome those issues. So that is the stage. You have yet not identified like how you are going to overcome those barriers and issues.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible now, please.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Actually, there is a power cut.
Okay. So, so you are still working on that those aspects. Am I correct? I think you have some issues. So then all the best for your future work. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Hello, am I audible? I don't know what is happening.
No problem, ma'am.
No problem, ma'am. It's okay.
Network issue, no issues. That was the last from Trackman. Thank you, Abhishek, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Prakhar, and thank you, Amity University, for giving me the chance to chair the session and to interact with the students and see their presentations. I must appreciate the fact that there have been presentations over wide topics covering from bituminous to planning to transportation. And I must congratulate Amity University for conducting this conference and giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was Dr. Abhishek Mittal, sir. And once again, thank you, sir, for sparing your time and giving valuable suggestions to all our participants. And with this, we come to an end for track 1. Sir, I would request all the participants from track 1 and Abhishek Mittal, sir, obviously you can join us for the track 5 as well. I can see Dr. Sushmita ma'am has already joined us. We'll be sessioning the chair for track 5, and the other participants, you're most welcome to stay and listen to the other papers as well. But if you wish to leave, sir, you can also do that.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Prakar.
Thank you.
Welcome, Sushmita ma'am, to our conference, TRACE 2022. This is our biannual conference and the 4th edition of it. First of all, I'm extremely grateful that you spare your time to session the chair and listen to our participants and their work. And I also welcome all the participants of the track 5. Now, participants, let me please introduce you to our session chair, Dr. Sushmita Mdadich. She completed her MTech from Govind Wallabh Pant University of Agricultural Sciences and Technology. And after that, she went to international assignment for 2 years at Department of Agricultural Engineering, Purvanchal Campus, Institute of Engineering, Dharang Tribhuvan University, Nepal, as an assistant professor. And after that, she had joined PhD from Water Resources Department, IIT, under the Institute Fellowship. Presently, she serves as an assistant professor at Sher-e-Kashmir University Agricultural Science and Technology of Jammu at Jammu Union Territory of J&K. Till date, she has handled various external funded projects, SPI and OPI. She has published more than 85 papers and book chapters in reputed journals. She got various awards for her professional works like Professional Engineering Academic Award 2020, Innovative Team Award, and etc. She is involved in teaching, research, and extension work in her area of interest fields are pressurized irrigation system, precision farming, water resource management, and GIS application. I once again welcome you now.
Thank you so much to give me the opportunity to chair this session. Thank you.
And now we have been joined by our participants. I will very briefly tell you the simple rules and guidelines. I will be calling the participants by their name and paper ID. Once your name is called upon, you are requested to please share your screen and share the PowerPoint presentation. And you will be given at the most 10 minutes for your presentation. So please try to wrap it up in the given stipulated time. So with your permission, ma'am, shall we begin?
May I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
How many participants are there?
Ma'am, we have 6 participants here.
6 participants. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So our first participant is paper ID 39, Mr. Hani.
Hello.
Yes.
Can I share the screen?
Please, sir.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So,
Your screen is
everyone.
visible to us.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible. You are please start.
Yeah. Okay. So the topic. So my topic is that an assessment of vulnerability to extreme rainfall and livelihood resilience in History of Geography, a case study of Malappuram, Kerala, India. Coming to the introduction, extreme precipitation events, landslides, and floods are very common natural disasters that affect the human society and economy and have become very common in India. Vulnerability as well as livelihood is related to such events and also related to their local socio-economic networks. So vulnerability of many communities, especially poor, are enhanced by the impact of disasters caused by such extreme events. So the livelihood of an community or livelihood comprises the assets which are natural, physical, human, financial, and social capital. And access to these capitals and together gained by an individual or a community determine the living of an individual or a community. So the livelihood vulnerability means susceptibility of a livelihood system of stressors. A livelihood of a community is said to be sustainable when it can cope with and recover from stress, shocks, maintain and enhances its capability and assets, and provide sustainable livelihood opportunity for the next generation. So the degree to which these communities depend on the natural resources and how sensitive are those resources to the changing climate and how well they are to adopt it determines how vulnerable these communities are to the disasters. Now, coming to the livelihood resilience, it's an ability of an individual or a group or a community to bounce back from their livelihood challenges and reduce the impact of vulnerabilities and recovering effects from past and present vulnerabilities, thriving, and even in a difficult livelihood environment. So learning about the impact on the livelihood and that coping mechanism or adaptation mechanism is very crucial for effective climate change adaptation. There is a need to minimize the adverse impact on the livelihood and to find suitable coping mechanism that will not lead to more vulnerability or reduce the vulnerability of the community. Now, coming to the literature review, there are various literature that explains the definition of vulnerability and resilience. So resilience is the process to tackle shocks and vulnerability. And the resilience concept requires greater attention to human livelihood if to address the limits of adaptation strategy and the development needs of the vulnerable people. There are papers that state that clarity in understanding as well as applicability of the concept of resilience and adaptive capacity in livelihood theory and practices can potentially contribute to the long-term response to livelihood adversity among different communities. And also, this paper, Sarkar defines that to clarify the concept of vulnerability and resilience in the perspective of livelihood with respect to the climate change, climate vulnerable concept. So in this study, it stated that livelihood resilience is a function of three dimensions of resilience, which is adaptive, absorptive, and transformative capacity of a livelihood system and enable people to sustain and retain their livelihood opportunity in a stress event caused by extreme events. So in this paper, the quant measure the household livelihood resilience by selecting individual indicators and then forming and composite asset indexes for each and every natural capital of livelihood, and then make a overall composite index to calculate the overall livelihood capital and the resilience. So coming to the rationale of the study, the Kerala as a state joins a long and growing list of flood hit states in India, and which was flooded in 18, 19, and 20, and also faced a lot of various landslides. So most of the part of Western Ghats region in Kerala are now victim of climate change because of the extreme rainfall events causing floods and landslides. So this research is an attempt to understand the resilience of rural livelihood of households, the Chaliar Panchayat of Nalambur Taluk, Kerala, to extreme rainfall events like floods and landslides. The major focus of the study is to find out the livelihood resilience among different social groups, such as general, OBC, and scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, along with the focus on the impact and loss incurred by them because of these disasters. And the study has put forth two research questions. Basically, what are the difference in level of livelihood resilience between these different social groups and the losses, and what are the losses and damages incurred by this household? So this study has adopted a mixed method approach with a stratified random sampling of 127 households residing in the flood and landslide prone area. And for the primary data collection, the household surveys using structured questionnaire were used, and the semi-structured interviews with villagers and local panchayats and village officials were done. And the secondary data of lost crops and livestock and lost damages and infrastructure properties and compensation was collected from the Gram Panchayat level. And for measuring the livelihood resilience, different indicators based on the financial and based on different livelihood capitals were used, and a score was given from 0 to 1. And the most desirable response was given 1 and the least desirable was given 0. Assume that the higher level of livelihood capital should be indicated by higher scores and thus greater livelihood resilience. An equal weightage was given to each indicators, and a composite asset index for each livelihood asset was created by taking an average of individual indicators and an overall composite index by giving weightage average based on the key informants, the response from the key informants. So coming to the results and discussion, by analyzing the livelihood asset, we can see that from the financial capital, most of the communities, specifically from the ST settlements, were facing a lot of loss and damages, and 30 household or families were lost their house completely. And most of the people were compelled to stay in a shelter at these during the disasters, which were impacting their livelihood. Also coming to the physical capital, we can see that physical environment surrounding the ST household is relatively poor because of the remoteness of their places, and also this had an impact on their accessibility to electricity as well as the proper road, which had an impact on their education as well as their health care facilities. Now coming to the natural capital, the household in these settlements, specifically the scheduled tribe settlements, depend on the spring water or the river streams for their water requirement, and they did not have a proper well, and this were causing them a water shortage during summers. And also the crop raiding by animals were one of the other problem faced by them and their agriculture. Now coming to the human capital, as mentioned above, the low physical capital has had an impact on their human capital, specifically focusing on their access to healthcare facilities and their education. And social capital, as mentioned above, most of the households in the ST communities were secluded and from the remote area. They were not having an active involvement in the politics or SHG formation, especially by Kudumbashree, which is a state poverty eradication program by the government of Kerala. So from the livelihood resilience, an index was calculated, and the resilience index for each livelihood capital was calculated for 2 different categories. And for assessing each livelihood capital, the different indicators and factors were selected as given in the previous slide. And a significant difference can be observed from the table for all the capitals, with only very slight difference in the natural capital. So while calculating the resilience, overall relative resilience, the weightage was given. 50% weightage was given to financial capital, 15 for social, 15 for physical capital, 10 for human capital, and 10 for natural capital. And this weightage was given based on the response of the key informants on how important each livelihood capital are for them. So for measuring the loss and damages, you can see that ST communities were the most affected and compared to the low-lying places along the river. But coming to the amount or the loss in rupees, we can see that most of the losses were for general OBC because the amount of property or the amount of capital they have was more compared to the SC/ST households. The majority of the land was impacted was in the low-lying area near the river, and most of the general OBC category people were living in those areas. Even from the average economic loss, we can see that the green shows that the grand total, the grand average economic loss. The general OBC category were always having a higher than the grand total average economic loss, and the SC/ST were having lesser than the grand average or total economic loss, average economic loss. Now coming to the conclusion, from the study we can observe that general OBC household had a 29% higher average score for all the 5 livelihood capital, as well as 33% higher score for financial, 19 for social, and 15% for human, 6% for natural, and 49% higher physical capital than the SC/ST household. So from the study, we can see that flood resistance is more likely to be found in household with higher livelihood capital. The finding also directly and implicitly explore how different livelihood capitals contribute to the resilience, the livelihood resilience of the community in the face of the economic uncertainty. Also, the study adds to our understanding the impact of floods and landslide on household livelihood, in addition to presenting the empirical evidence on the livelihood resilience from the study. But this study only offers a snapshot of livelihood resilience rather than a complex indicator of how resilience is evolving. For measuring that, we need to ask the same question at the different point of time to understand how the resilience has evolved over the time among the communities. Another drawback of the study is the large-scale variables such as macroeconomics, national politics, and international trade, which can directly have an impact on the livelihood and adaptation practices, can be challenging to integrate into the resilience calculation. So in future, this research future path is to broaden the scope of analysis to include more location. To conduct this study at different location with various social, economic, and environment settings. But the finding of the studies is context dependent, and the capacity of the diverse community or household as diverse location is diverse among different location, and their ability to absorb shocks and respond to discordance may vary. No.
Please continue.
Yeah, and their disturbance to the their response to the disturbance may vary according to the based on their location or the context. And these are the references. Thank you. Any suggestions?
Thank you, Hani. Nice presentation here. One query from my side that am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah, okay. So how many many families you have taken for this studies?
130, 127, actually 127.
127. So what are the financial background there? Means they are doing agriculture or another thing also?
So
Another-
there are people who are doing agriculture, who are doing, most of them, majority of them were daily wages. Most of them were manual laborers.
Okay, they are daily wages. So they have no agricultural land. Their own.
They had, but it was limited. Not all the respondents are having an agricultural land, or most of them were like subsistence agriculture, not doing for any commercial purpose.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Nice presentation.
Can I stop sharing?
Yes.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite our next presenter, paper ID 41, Mr. Anup. Paper ID 41, Mr. Anup. I guess the paper ID 41 is not there. No issues. I'll move ahead with the other one. Paper ID 42, Nishant.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon, Nishant. Could you please share your screen?
Wait a minute. Is it visible?
Not yet.
Okay. Now?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, okay. Shall I start?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the topic of my study is analyzing the rigidity of water flows in small Himalayan towns and analysis of water accessibility and availability in Champaut town. So basically, it's a case study of Champaut town. So this is Nishant Kharkwal from Department of Sociology, Delhi School of Economics. So basically, the studies is of the Himalayan town. So we all know that Himalaya, the water tower of Asia, they are the major. They a lot. Sorry, wait a minute. Okay. Sorry. So they have snow-clad mountains with origin in 10 major river basins, and so the same region which is also witnessing changing rainfall patterns with extreme weather conditions right now. So also the topography of the area is very fragile, and these changing rainfall patterns are also there. So is the state of Uttarakhand. Wait a minute, if it is changing. Wait, I'm not able. Yes. So is the state of Uttarakhand, which is also a Himalayan state. So also the situation in Uttarakhand is not good. So basically, we can see that different studies like Gupta and Kulkarni says 50% of the spring in the region are drying up. And also the urban population in the state is increasing with out-migration towards the urban centers. So these migration in this population increase with the primary shift in the resource, with the shift from primary resource development to secondary and tertiary sectors. So there has been a pressure on resources of urban areas. So basically on water. So also Uttarakhand scores very low in the water management index, especially in Niti Aayog's 2018 index. And coming to the literature review, so basically most of the studies in the region are on the traditional water systems management and governance of water quality, mostly of rivers, resource management and spring rejuvenation. And most of the studies are limited to big towns and cities, which have a good, which are tourist attractions, basically Shimla, Leh, Dehradun, Mussoorie, Darjeeling. So the attempt of the study is to focus on the water security of a small town like Champaut, which is near Nepal border, and also at and also various Kulkarni and Gupta has also highlighted the issue of water the studies lack of studies in these regions. So first of all, now understanding this accessibility and availability of water. So basically the concept of accessibility and availability of water at present is attributed to distance and time involved in obtaining water. It's by Jones and Parker. And also the availability depends on the quantity of water available at a certain period of time. So this accessibility and availability also comes in the terms of affordability. So because if something is unaffordable, so it is not accessible also. Similarly, in the case of water it happens. If it is not affordable, then it will not be, people will not be able to access it. So these indicators become very crucial in efficient water management practices, as studies by Beal and Stewart in their study. So what basically the task of this study was to fill these gaps of water accessibility and availability of these small towns. So I took Champawat region, Champawat is small district headquarter of Champawat district in Uttarakhand. So the study analyzes the present water situation of water security by identifying the rigidities in the water accessibility and availability through consumer perception or demand side. So let me show the survey field. So this is Uttarakhand, and this is near Champawat is near Nepal border. So I made this GIS map with the help of from a Naziri Naksha. So there was no proper data available, so I have to go to different online. Data was not available online, so I have to go to the Nagarpalika offices and local offices to get the data. And I made this data with the help of Naziri Naksha and help of the engineer, civil engineer there. So basically, this is Champawat. You can see this is a Himalayan, basically a Himalayan town, small. So it is not. It is a very small town with a population of 12,756. Like, so coming to the methodology, so I use mixed research methods here. So I took first I took in-depth interviews of the key persons and stakeholders from both supply and demand side. And also the reason was that there were a lot of issues regarding data because it was not available online and most in public domain. So I have to go to the offices and collect these secondary data from them. How much water is there? How much quantity, what are the demand side, about the whole infrastructure, understanding the water infrastructure there. And also I contacted government officials, Nagarpalika officials, and also journalists, politicians, social activists of the local region to understand the other intricacies of water accessibility and availability in the local context. So this information from the in-depth interviews helped to make the questionnaire for the consumption patterns. Basically, the consumption survey I did. So I took a survey of 180 households. So there are 2551 households there. I took there are 9 wards in Champawat. So I took 20 households from each house randomly, and structured questionnaire was done after that. So a descriptive analysis of primary data was done. So basically, coming to Champawat. So so sources of water is pipe water supply, and then wells, public hand pumps, traditional water harvesting system. So basically, coming to pipe water supply systems, so it is provided by Uttarakhand Jal Sasthan. It looks after the whole pipe water network here, and the water from most of the in Champawat comes from 5 different springs. So different locations have different sources where they take water, and these sources have come from phase to phase. In 1970s, they started first phase, then second in the 90s, and this is how the water has reached there. And at present, they provided me the estimation that there's a need of 2.3 million liters per day with this population, but at present they are only able to provide 0.68 MLD. So there is a high deficit in this area. So I asked them, how do you how this deficit is being managed? So they say that we provide water for for around 2 hours or some period to the people every day in different locations, and we and it operates around the clock 14 hours a day, the whole water system. Then but the thing was that it is not only the water piped water supply, but different sources, other sources also. So because the scarcity comes basically in summer and also during monsoon. So what happens? So I divided into the primary sources and secondary sources. So the primary sources are basically if you go to this graph, you can see that these are the mostly around 76% of the households were dependent on private pipe water connections, while 19% on wells and 3% on this. And also, if you see, there are secondary sources there. So different households, these are number of households which were using rely on different resources, especially during summer. So government water tankers are provided during summer when water scarcity is high, and people also resort to public hand pumps and also traditional water system. One thing I came to notice that use of traditional sources have actually declined, and there was no household in the area where which it was a primary source of water now. And there were people who also have disconnected their private pipe connection, because they think that water does not come regularly, and also the charges are high. So you can see there is only 76% of water supply, but government, even the UJS was saying, Jal Sasthan, that we provide the pipe water is with the 90% of the people. So it was not matching with the data they provided. So now going to the fluctuations of water availability. So most of the fluctuations happen in summer because the levels of water goes down in sources, and they are.
I would request you to please wrap it up.
Okay, let me wrap it. So this is the consumption pattern, and we can see that the water comes is very irregular. Then coming to the timings, you can see most of the water is coming, peak hour is mostly morning. So I did ask them about the timings of water that come. So I made this graph there over. And then coming to the water consumption pattern. So I took three, basically the piped water connection, the well, and the hand pump. So this is the average, total average came around 79.53 LPCD, while well was around 98.63. So it can be seen that as the availability is more, the water consumption is more. And also, this is also I made a range of how water is being provided, how the consumption is there. So only 6% of people were actually, 7% of people were actually consuming more than 135 LPCD of water. So which is actually, which is the standard they say they try to provide according to CPHE, URDPF guidelines, CPHE EEO guidelines. Okay. Then coming to water tariffs, they say that water tariffs are high, and also if we compare to the Uttarakhand, it is 277.50, and they are paying more. And this is because of the faulty property tax assessment of the region. And also the accessibility, people have to walk for meters there, even they are being provided piped water, they have to walk 200 meters, sometimes they have to walk more than 500 meters. And water quality perception was good, but the issue was that water during monsoon was very poor. Almost everyone said that water during monsoon is really an issue. Then coming to reasons of water scarcity, as I told, the summer season, mismanagement in Jal Sasthan, old pipelines, and the rigidity in the system is like that. The delay in implementation of new scheme, Koirala Ghati Pariyojana, is under construction from 7 years. No water metering also in the region. Also coping mechanism, people, as I told, people resort to multiple sources because they have also water rationing is there. Nala and Dhar, people storing water in multiple containers, and also people use install pumps in their pipelines to maintain the water pressure. Water pressure is a very major issue in the region. So this also creates a problem. If one has a water pump, then sometimes it happens that neighbors won't get the required pressure. So these issues also come up. So installation of pumps is also there to cope up from water scarcity, basically to maintain the pressure. So coming to the conclusion, so we can see that the Champawat is not just dependent on piped water supply, but on multiple sources, and the availability of water changes from with the water resources. Scarcity of water is in summer. The various standards are not up to the mark. Like they say that they provide 135 LPCD, which is not there, and also reforms are not there. Water metering is not there. Urbanization is going. Urbanization is happening in the region, and it is not the case like it is a tourist destination. No. It is because of the local changes that are happening, local urbanization patterns that are changing, which is actually leading to these issues. So in future, we can say if some water and surveys could help to estimate water uses more efficiently. So we can install less water extensive tap and faucets, thus helping to consume water more sustainably. Thank you. I think I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Quite an elaborative presentation.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
speaker. It's a quite interesting. Your survey was interesting. Is it your MSc work or PhD?
Yes, it's my MSc work basically.
When? Okay, so when you did it?
In 2019, December 2019, from October to December 2019, basically.
Okay, that it's fine. But however, you put some references that is very old. I think you 2011, 2007. So this time it's 2022 going on, है ना? So
no, ma'am, that is of studies, not of that. Basically,
no,
I think
you
of
have in introduction you showed that 2011 population data.
Oh, ma'am, sorry, ma'am. The problem is that because the problem is that in 2011, if you go to Wikipedia, they show only 5,000 because that area of the Champao changed. Nagar Palika ka jo area उसे बढ़ाया गया. So I went to basically to the Nagar Palika and asked. So they give me data from the latest 2016 का basically उनका जो वो था, तो उन्होंने कहा ये 2011 के सेंसस के हिसाब से जो हमारे पास डेटा है जो चेंज हुआ 2016 में जो उन्होंने बना के उनको दिया था, because there were elections here. So this is how they gave me the data. So I took data from them only.
Okay.
From Nagar Palika. Most of data is from them.
Okay. And you shows in your slide that traditional water harvesting system, that is Naula and Dhara.
Yes,
can you explain it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So Naula is a small well. So there is a temple-like structure over in Naula. It's a small well-like structure. So people, so it is case. So it is mostly Naulas are mostly sacred areas. So people also use it. So there is a famous temple here in Champawat, and also there are lots of Naulas there. So earlier people used to resort to them, and Dharas are basically springs. So they, so these, the water comes out from various places in. from किसी चट्टान से निकल गया, कहीं से निकल गया, तो वो बेसिकली पुट उसमें कोई पत्ती लगा देते हैं, नल लगाते हैं, इवन स्ट्रक्चर्स लगा देते हैं शेर के या फिर गाय के. सो इट कम्स फ्रॉम देयर. सो दीज आर टू सोर्सेस.
ओके थैंक यू.
नाम फोटो के नीचे लिख कर भेज देना कि हमने यहाँ पर
आप कुछ बोल रहे हैं?
नहीं, सॉरी.
ओके. So, can you suggest some another water harvesting methods for your study area?
Ma'am, basically I was thinking, ma'am, first to water rejuvenation ke liye, ma'am, first they have to work on water rejuvenation, spring rejuvenation, because they have left these things, especially these ये जो local हमारे नौले एंड धारा होते हैं, because इनका traditional वो खत्म हो गया है. Then also rainwater harvesting can be done, but it's zero here. I have not added here, but only 2 households were doing it, and that too was not up to the mark.
We can add rainwater harvesting in that roof water harvesting system and groundwater recharge system. We can
these are not there.
Yeah. So that should be there. You can add all these things.
I should have added it here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other queries?
I think no queries.
Okay. So let's stop sharing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir.
Next presentation.
Yes, ma'am. I would now invite our next paper ID 54, Dipali Goyal.
Hello, I'll share my screen.
Please.
What is the paper ID?
54.
54. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Visible?
Yes, is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible. Please start.
Okay, good evening, ma'am. So the title of my paper is a comparative assessment of water footprint of agriculture, industrial and domestic practices in India. The concept of water footprint was given by Professor Hoestra, and it is basically a measuring system, a more orderly measuring system, where we take account of the total water consumed. It could be process-based, product waste, or producer waste, consumer specific, or related to a specific geographic area. In this study, we'll be specifically looking at the consumption patterns of India. In the water footprint system, we can categorize it further into blue water footprint, gray water footprint, and green water footprint. In blue water footprint, the consumption of surface water or groundwater resources is taken into account, whereas in green water footprint, we refer to the consumption of the rainwater. Gray water footprint, however, is the water that is not actually consumed, but is polluted in the process of consumption. Whenever we are consuming blue or green water footprint, the water that is polluted results in gray water footprint. The problem formulation is in India, we are already facing a very severe water scarcity issue, especially the states of Punjab, Rajasthan, and Haryana. According to the previous studies, it has been seen that many months, almost 9 months of severe water scarcity is faced in India, in Pennar River Basin, also in South India. The consumption patterns and the pollution patterns, if it is studied in detail, it can help us in understanding how the traditional perspective of water analysis, that is just the demand and supply based, can also be looked from a global perspective. That is, we can understand that our water footprint is not just related to the consumption activities, which is related inside the specific geographical area, but it is also related to the external products that we are importing or the products that we are exporting. So the methodology here is that we are attempting to understand the water footprint of India in comparison to the global consumption. The data used for this research is from WaterStat. WaterStat is an online database for water footprint assessment. Here, the previous studies from Professor Hoestra has been used to compile the database online. And also some of the countries, they have their own online databases like Eurostat, that is for European countries. Data from there also has been used to compile the information in the WaterStat. So national water footprint of production for agriculture, industrial and domestic sectors has been calculated by using the volume of fresh water that has been consumed. That will account for the blue water footprint, and the polluted water, that is the gray water footprint, for different economic activities. Whenever we are talking about the national water footprint of production, we are looking at all the activities, the economic activities which are taking place in a specific geographical area. This also includes the footprint of any products that will be exported in future. But whenever we talk about the national footprint of consumption, so there are two categories. One is national water footprint for production, and another is water footprint for national consumption. Whenever we are talking about consumption, then we need to understand that there are certain items which are produced in the geographical area, like in India, which are exported and they are not consumed within our country. So we will exclude that water footprint because that is water footprint for export, which is not consumed in India. Whereas we can, in national consumption water footprint, we'll add those products which will be imported from other countries and their water footprint will be taken into account. So this is an equation in the last where national water footprint for production is subtracting water footprint for export, whereas water footprint for import is added, and that results in the national water footprint for consumption. That is the relation between national water footprint for production and consumption. Results are such that whenever we are talking about the national water footprint for production, where we are also including the products that will be exported. Here, for the years 1996 to 2005, India has the second largest value of water footprint of production, and it is 1182 gigameter cube per year. And this is 13% of the total global total of national water footprint. If we see, China is the topmost consumer and India is the second largest. And the difference between the consumption of China and India is just 25 gigameter cube per year. In terms of blue water footprint, for the national production itself, if we categorize it further into blue, green, and gray, we see that the blue water footprint, India has the largest share of water footprint across the globe. Globally also, if we compare just the blue water footprint values, India is 243 gigameter cube per year, which is 24% of the total global footprint. in this blue water footprint, because we've seen that it is maximum for the globe, the maximum amount of blue water footprint is caused because of the irrigation of wheat, rice, and sugarcane in India. And if we see sector-wise, the agriculture sector is taking maximum water footprint for production because 92% of the total value is used in agriculture. The percentage of global, the percentage share of agriculture to total water footprint is 92.5% globally. And for India, it is 92%, which is nearby. So India is actually sharing a lot of water footprint in the agriculture sector. Most of the water is consumed in the agriculture sector. The highest share of global water footprint is related to if we talk about the industrial sector, then China is a country which has the highest share of global water footprint for industries, that is 22%, whereas in India, it is just 8.8% of the global value. This is a table which is summarizing the national water footprint for production. The different sectors are crop production, grazing, annual water, industrial and domestic water supply, which are further categorized into the green water footprint, blue water footprint, and the green water footprint. Now we're talking about the water footprint for national consumption. In national consumption, here, like we previously discussed, that in consumption we'll be excluding the footprint of the products which will be exported, but we'll be adding the footprint of the products which will be imported and that will be consumed within our territory. Here, if we see again, the global consumption is 8525 gigameter cube per year, similar to the value of water footprint production. India again is the second largest in the value of water footprint consumption, and the value for the India is 1,144 gigameter cube per year, and this is 13.4% of the total global value. Blue water footprint here accounts for 20.1%, whereas grey water footprint accounts for 14.9% of the total share. And out of the category wise, India's share is 12% for the green water footprint, 24.4% for the global blue water footprint, which is again highest among all the countries. Like in the national water footprint for production also, India global blue water footprint share was highest among all the countries. If we see sector wise, again, the agriculture is contributing to the maximum amount of water footprint for consumption, that is 93.1% of the total value, which is 13.6% of the total global value. Again, this table is summarizing the different sectors, agriculture, industry, and domestic sectors, and their water footprint values in green, blue, and gray category. Because we are talking about the national footprint for consumption, the values are further categorized into internal and external values. Internal values are the products which are produced in India, and external values are the products which are imported in India. We have seen that the water footprint value we talked about till now, they are the total values that the India is consuming. But because it is population based, we in India and some other countries, we have large population. So one of the reasons that India has such high values is because we have large population. So the better way to compare could be that we take the per capita consumption patterns of water footprint, and the global average per capita water consumption pattern is value is 1385 meter cube per year per capita, and India is at 150th place globally. That is the per capita consumption of water footprint is 1089 meter cube per year per capita, which is less than the global average because the global average is 1385. If we see Mongolia and Bolivia, these are the countries which have high per capita consumption. This is also because of the eating habits, where they eat more of the meat products, which has high water footprint associated with the production process. So these countries, they have per capita high water footprint values. If we see the category wise, the global average of the blue water footprint for consumption is 153 meter cube per year per capita. And this is 11% of the total water footprint. And the variation of blue water footprint is huge for the Turkmenistan, which is the largest blue water footprint of all the countries on per capita basis, to India, which just have 218.9 meter cube per year per capita. That is the blue water footprint per capita. We can see when we are discussing according to the per capita basis, then India ranks far below than other countries. Also, we can look at the external water dependency of the countries. External water footprint together constitutes 22% of the total global water footprint. That is the total consumption, production, national, global water footprint. Out of that, 22% of the water is used to make products which will be exported. In the agriculture sector, 19% of the total products that are made, they are used for the export purposes or the trade purposes. If we talk about some European countries like United Kingdom, Italy, Netherlands, and Germany, the water footprint value is as high as 60 to 95% of their total water footprint. And this is not necessity based. They are highly dependent on the freshwater resources of other countries. But this doesn't mean that they have their own scarce water resources. But there are countries like Israel, Yemen, and UAE, which face their internal domestic water resources scarcity, and because of that, they are dependent on other countries for external. So the conclusion is that India do have a high share, global water footprint values, but that is because of the.
Just a minute. Kindly mute yourself, another person. Hello. Okay, go ahead.
So the conclusion is that India does have a high water footprint value, but it is partly because we do have a high population, and also because of the consumption patterns. And if we look into the production processes, the industrial production processes, as well as the agricultural production processes are not very efficient, they are inefficient. And we also see that the agriculture sector is a sector which is contributing maximum to the consumptive water footprint, almost 92%. And most of the share of the agriculture sector is also taken by the green water footprint, not the blue water footprint. Even in the irrigated agricultural areas where the groundwater or surface water is used specifically for the agricultural activities, even there the green water footprint value is high. So this amount can also be reduced if we increase the efficiency of the agriculture production process. Water productivity can be increased, that is the yield of crops per water usage can be increased, which can also lead to more food security, and consequently food production will also be increased. This information can be used to design a strategy where we are also considering the global aspect of water conservation, because one of the suggestions that the researchers are given is that if you can externalize your water footprint based on the fact that there are countries which have water abundance and they can make products which can be exported. Whereas if you are deficient in water, then it's better that you don't export products which are more water intensive. So these kind of policies can be formulated considering the different accounting of the water footprint that is used for the production and consumption patterns in your country. So these are the references. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deepali. Yes, ma'am, please.
So thank you, Deepali. Nice presentation. So I have one question. Can you describe what is this green water footprint and blue and gray?
Yes, ma'am. Blue water footprint is whenever we are using groundwater or surface water for making our product. Like if we are consuming groundwater or if we are consuming surface water, then it is accounting to the blue water footprint. And green water footprint is when we are using rainwater for the consumption purpose. And gray water footprint is the water that is polluted during the activity when the blue or the green water was used.
Okay.
That polluted water, the amount of water which will be required to dilute that polluted water will be the gray water footprint. That is basically a probable use. Like the amount of fresh water that will be needed to dilute the polluted water so that the ambient water quality standard could be reached. That will be the gray water footprint.
Okay, nice. Then in your result and discussion, you showed that in India per capita potable water or something, this 1089 meter cube per year per capita in result and discussion in India. Yeah, so is it you have determined or you have taken from any reference?
Ma'am, this WaterStat, that is the online database for water footprint. They have given the values for all the countries. Like I've done a comparative analysis.
You
from these
have
values.
taken from any literature and review, na? This one, this data.
No, ma'am, this is a online database. And
Okay.
for this database, they have compiled the information from the previous researchers that was done by Professor Hoestra.
So is it come in this result and discussion? Is it your, because it's not your result, na? This is the database that is you have taken from internet source. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So result and discussion means whatever you analyze the data from your internet or from your survey, that results you have to show in this chapter or in this category, result and discussion.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the comparison I have done, like I've taken into account different countries and tried to compare that what is the current position of India, like why is it that the India is having less water footprint per capita? Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dipali.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dipali. You may please unshare.
Yes.
Now, I would like to invite our next participant, paper ID 66, Anupriya Verma.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Sir, shall I share the screen?
Please share your screen. Your screen is visible. Please click on full screen mode.
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, everyone. Bosch University, and I'm here to present the topic real-time smart water management system for smart homes. So basically, this is the content which I'm including, which includes introduction, literature review, water quality sensors along with their parameters, objectives, real-time SWMS description, which is smart water management system, then conclusion and references. So starting with the introduction, as we all know that water plays a vital role in ensuring a healthy human life. Many water related issues we have been facing, which are being faced by the developing countries, like poor infrastructure for water, scarcity of drinking water is there, water is being polluted day by day, falling water table and low levels of water security. So in this particular slide, I have included what are the reasons responsible for the wastage of water on the basis of house level. Like there is a water wastage, the taps are remain open, there is no measurement and tracking, no proper measurement and tracking is being done. Unreliable staff is there for the maintenance of the water. There is sudden emergencies like there is no water or leakage, you can say. So all these are the reasons which are responsible for the poor water management. Here's what I have included in this entire PPT is what I have divided. I have divided the sensors in the 3 categories, which will be checking the water quantity, quality, and the overflowing. And 4th one will be the storage. How we can manage the water with the help of sensors. So my main objective is to install the water quality sensor, water quantity sensors, and the overflow sensors in the water distribution system. As per the previous studies, like this one study done is 2012, in this study, the collective information related to sensors, communication protocols, multimedia devices, and widely used system in the implementation of smart homes was described. Basically, what happens is that with the help of sensors, we know sensor plays a crucial role in the system because they gather all the relevant information and transfer the information in a real time to citizens, cities, and communication network. Similarly, in this study done by Chen and Han, 2018, He made use of wireless sensors in a pilot study in Bristol City, the UK, for the smart water management at the city level. A study done in 2019, an ICT wastewater distribution network was proposed that help in preventing water loss and monitoring excessive water supply. A study done in 2019 made use of smart pipes. Basically, they checked the water drop, their pressure drop was being checked with the help of sensors, smart water metering designed as a module unit with a monitoring capacity expandable for future available sensors. Another study done in 2019, what they did, a sensor plays a crucial role in the system because they gather all the relevant information and transfer the information in real time to cities, and communication network. A study done, this is a recent study done in 2021. What they did, they made use of rejected water from the domestic water purifying system, which was having a high TDS value of about 1800 ppm. So basically, they have utilized the wasted water and have used that water in other purposes. So here's a table which I have described about water quality sensors, like what quality is going to be checked. Like in case of I have taken certain parameters like BOD, COD, turbidity, pH, and the relevant sensors. The sensor which will detect the BOD of the water which is present in the system, in the water distribution system. So similarly, the COD will be checked with this type of sensors, turbidity, pH. Then parameters conductivity, suspended solids, and oil will be checked by these type of sensors. These are basically the name of sensor which are already used in the market. These are basically sensor available in the market. So we can install these sensors in our system, in our water distribution system, so that we can manage the water more precisely and there is less water wastage. So with the help of literature review, I came to the, so I can detect my objectives. Those were to enhance the reuse of water, to minimize the wastage, to reduce the load on the sewer network, to improve the groundwater table. So here's basically a description of the entire water system, water distribution system. So this is a proposed smart water management system at the level of smart homes. So as you can see the figure, the supply of usable water is through centralized water supply system. So, and the entire water distribution system is automated with 3 types of sensors. You can see 3 types of sensor I have used. Those are overflow sensor, quality sensor, quantity sensor, and this is the gate valve, which I have installed here to categorize, to bifurcate the water into better quality and the poor quality. So, and starting with the better quality water, firstly, the water passes through one of the sensor known as overflow sensors. Sensor for overflow check whether the centralized water tank is sufficiently filled or not. If the tank is overflowing, then the water supply to the tank will be switched off automatically. So, so there will be less water wastage, or there will be no leakage of the water. Talking about the water bifurcating, the water has been bifurcated into 3 categories: kitchen, washroom, and miscellaneous activities. So kitchen, the taps, water purification system. Then in washroom, taps, showers, flushings, all these are being installed. Miscellaneous, any taps provided in the home at other places rather than kitchen and washrooms. So this is a quality sensors which are being installed in the taps and purification system, similarly in the washroom and the miscellaneous. What they does, quality sensor basically check whether the water quality of water is in the certain limit, then that certain good water is being passed to the better quality water. And if the water quality is of poor quality, then that water is passed to the poor quality of water. This bifurcation I have done according to the IS standard. So if that parameters which I have discussed earlier, like BOD, COD, pH, turbidity, conductivity, salinity, if those parameters are within the certain limit, then that category belongs to the better quality water. And if that quality is above that certain limit, then that category belongs to the poor quality of water. So poor quality of water is being transferred to the sewer network, and it is being installed with the quantity sensors, which check whether the water is available, then it passed to the sewer network. Similarly, the better quality water is passed through the recycled water tank. This recycled water tank stores the water, and this water is being passed to the flushing area. This could be, so the flushing water is being used by the recycled water tank. After the recycled water tank is being installed with the quality sensors, with the quantity sensors, which check whether there is an overflowing, then that water is being passed through the rainwater harvesting pit, or that water can be used for various activities like spraying to control dust and gardening. So basically, I have categorized into two categories, like case A. In case of overflowing, there will be a quantity check with the help of quantity sensors, and that water will pass to the rainwater harvesting pit. And in case B, if there is no overflowing, water can be used for domestic purposes and also miscellaneous purposes like gardening and spraying to control dust. Talking about the conclusion, we came to a conclusion that this real-time smart water management system can be applied to a larger scale. This will reduce the load on the sewer network. Plus, this will enhance the reuse of water and improve the groundwater table. So these are the references which I have included. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Very nice presentation. Anupriya.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Anupriya, this is your MSc or this work is MSc work or?
No, ma'am, this is not my MSc work. This is basically according to the paper I have written this. I'm working in different area.
Okay, so you are in Department of Civil Engineering and Chemistry.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is your, have you done it practically or just this is your just one idea?
This is my idea which I have read certain papers.
Okay.
So they have used the sensor in different manners. There are some case study as well over it. So I have taken a different idea. You make uses of a certain sensors which could be put in the waters. So basically it's an idea.
Okay, so it is an idea. So in your diagram flow chart, you have given if there is a overflow, then there is a sensor to stop the overflow water, hai na? You have shown na?
Yes, ma'am. If there is overflow.
Yeah. So if there is overflow, because it is for means we can say like one university. Okay, in university there are different departments, some apartments also, house apartments. Okay, so at everywhere there is a overhead tank and there may be a overflow water. Okay. So if we provide sensor and if it is stop automatically with the help of sensor, then problem may be there from जहां से पानी आ रहा है वहां पर मोटर लगी होगी और मोटर पे जो है उसके ऊपर बैक फ्लो जाएगा. Okay, so that will be damage your centralized motor if we stop the overflow water. Okay. So you have to consider that point also. Ki if there is a backflow, then how can we stop that backflow water?
Okay, ma'am.
Can you understand my question?
Yes, ma'am. If there is a backflow, so I think we could do one thing. That sensor should be connected to our mobile phones or to the monitoring devices. They can be notified with the notification that there is an overflow. They can turn off.
So manually, no, turn off. Again, if there is a turn off, then hold. That means ki we have to switch off our motor, main motor. So that's not possible, na? Because we have a different departments maybe possible one department's water overhead tank is not overflowing. Okay, there is a scarcity, there is middle ही half ही भरा है tank. So how can we rectify this one? That is my question.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, I will look towards it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dipali.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anupriya. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anupriya.
Thank you, sir.
It was a wonderful presentation and good explanation as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Shall I stop sharing?
Yes, ma'am, please. Now I call our last participant for today, Professor Kumrul Hassan, sir. Hassan, sir.
Hi, hello. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Myself and my scholar, Mr. Nadeem, is here. Nadeem will be presenting the paper.
Sir, there is a little bit of, I guess, echo. I guess you might have logged in from the multiple device because of that. Little bit echo is there. I can see two IDs of Kumrul Hassan here.
Kindly let me know the paper ID, please.
Ma'am, the paper ID is 121.
Thank you.
Nadeem.
Yes, sir, the screen is visible. So Mr. Nadeem will be presenting it, sir?
Nadeem is there.
Okay. Nadeem, you may please start. Nadeem, you may please start. I guess he has started it yet.
Yeah, Nadeem is audible.
Nadeem is there, sir. I can see him.
Nadeem is audible.
No, sir, Nadeem is not audible to us.
He is audible.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, Nadeem. Yes, yes.
Okay.
You are now audible.
Okay. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes, your screen is visible, Nadeem. You may please start.
Okay, sir. Good evening to all. My name is Nadeem Ahmed, and I'm a research scholar in the Department of Civil Engineering, Jamia Millia Islamia. I'm here to present my research paper on enhancing blue-green infrastructure for flood and water stress management, a case study of Chennai. See, this will be the content of my presentation. I'll start with the introduction, then urban flooding and water crisis in Chennai, then need of sustainable and approach for urban water management, and then blue-green infrastructure, BGI, a way forward towards it, then challenges in the intervention of BGI, and then conclusion, and then I'll conclude it with references. Many cities in India have witnessed a rise in the frequency of urban flooding as well as water scarcity. The cities across the globe are facing the challenges in urban water management, like flood risk mitigation, improving groundwater level, treating urban effluents, improving water quality. The frequency of climatic extreme floods and droughts have been increasing in the recent decades. The extreme events causes huge damages to the properties, agriculture, food production, ecosystem, and even the loss of life. The urban water system has been severely affected across the globe due to rampant urbanization, industrialization, and climate change. More than 50% of the world population resides in the cities. And for India, by 2050, it has been projected that 1 in every 2 Indians is expected to live in the urban areas. What happens when we go for the rampant, or I would say environmentally unplanned rapid urbanization? This will lead to the decreased blue and green spaces. When I say blue spaces, then it means water bodies, and when green spaces, the vegetation and forests. And it also leads to the increased urban flood risk, increased water, air, and noise pollution, loss of biodiversity, urban heat island, increased risk of ill health. In this slide, I'm going to explain the Chennai city, about the Chennai city and its hydrometeorological condition. As we know that Chennai city is the capital city of Tamil Nadu. It is the 4th largest metropolitan city of our country. The municipal area of the city has been expanded from 174 square kilometer to 426 square kilometer. In this city, the northeast monsoon is dominant, which causes the average annual rainfall of nearly 1300 mm. There are 3 major rivers in the city: Kosasthliar, Kuam, and Adya River. For its water demand, the city depends on the northeast monsoon and its 4 major reservoirs: Chambrabakam, Pondi Lake, Bisal, and Chulavaram Lake. Many cities in India have witnessed in the recent year the rise in the frequency of urban flooding as well as water scarcity. Based on the various literature, the root causes of flood and water crisis in Chennai are unplanned urbanization, rainfall extremes, inadequate and poor urban drainage, lack of sustainable framework, climate change. What happened when the human intervention in the natural environment disturbs the hydrocycle, especially the natural urban drainage pattern, which has to be there. It also leads to the deterioration of the freshwater resources and surface water resources as well. The adverse effect of urbanization can be observed in the Adya River basin, one of the major rivers in Chennai, which has once characterized by the wetlands, low-lying areas, temple tanks, and at present, all of these are enclosed and converted into special economic zones and residential complexes, especially in last 3 decades. At present, more than 90% of the wetlands of the city have been enclosed. These wetlands were quite efficient in absorbing excess water during floods and in contributing adequate surface water and groundwater during droughts. Overall, the urban water problems have been worsened with the extreme weather condition attributed to the climate change. In the last decade, 2 historic climatic extreme disasters happened in Chennai. First one is in 2015, Chennai flood occurs, which is the most disastrous flood of the century. More than 400 human lives were lost, over 2 million people were affected, and the properties worth of nearly $80,000 million were damaged. And on the contrary, just 4 years later, in 2019, the city witnessed the day zero. It means all the reservoirs of the city ran completely dry, pushing the city into severe water crisis. And there's an interesting fact in that in 2019, June 2019, the day zero will be witnessed in the city. And in January of 2019, that is the wettest month of the whole decade for that city. This is the unique thing about after effects of or adverse effect of climate change. The existing urban water issues of the Chennai continue to aggravate even with the various measures of the urban planning and development. The natural drainage system of the city in most of the city is in peril. The city has a minimum water supply of 108 LPCD, which is much less than WHO minimum criteria, which is nearly 150 LPCD. Being a coastal city and with the increasing population and urbanization, the excessive groundwater exploitation will not only deplete the groundwater level of the city, but also may also lead to the seawater intrusion. With the changing paradigm of urban water management across the globe, there's a need to adapt a sustainable practices, considering the climate change and the adverse effect of climate change. Blue-green infrastructure, a way forward towards sustainable urban water management. Blue-green infrastructure is not a new term, but blue-green infrastructure is not a new concept, absolutely new concept. It's a new term, but not an absolutely new concept. In earliest 20th century, this term has something coined by a researcher, but not full-fledged applied by the world. But it has this concept is there. There is no typical definition of this, but European Commission of European Union explicate the BGA solution as a strategically planned network of high quality natural and semi-natural areas with environmental features like vegetation, forests, water bodies, designed to deliver the wide range of urban ecosystem services. When I say urban ecosystem service, it refers to the benefits which are derived from the ecosystem for urban population. BGI measures help in creating the natural circumstances and ecosystem services in urbanism to elevate the urban pressure and to achieve the climate change resilience. In the last 2 decades, it has been seen in many. There has been increased regional implementation. Many European countries, in South Asian countries, in American, and many cities of the world, like New York. I've enlisted those cities in further slides: New York, Paris, London, Brussels, Melbourne, Victoria in Australia, and even in Dhaka. This figure depicts the various urban pressures, including water problems and urban ecosystem related to the nature-based related ecosystem services. One thing I mentioned, I just wanted to mention that there are terms which are broadly used synonymously with the BGI, blue-green infrastructure. GI, green infrastructure, nature-based solution, low impact development, LID, and EDA, ecosystem-based adaptation. These are the terms which are synonymously used with blue-green infrastructure. Okay. Now, these are the most common blue-green infrastructure measures adopted are in green roofs, and blue roofs, green facades, and rainwater harvesting system, engineered stormwater controls, rain garden, biosoils comes under this category. Wetlands and urban lakes, permeable pavements, urban parks and gardens, and these are the list of the urban ecosystem services which will be benefited through these BGI measures. Now, this figure represents the blue-green infrastructure-based strategy for water cycle revitalization in Nagoya City, Japan, which gives a clear picture of urban water management and overall urban well-being. As we can see that the current situation when the impervious surface, more impervious surface are there, less greeneries, less water bodies, less, or I would rather say less natural land use land cover. And with the increasing natural land use land cover, LULC, in engineered way, obviously, then we have better urban well-being and the urban ecosystem service I have just discussed over the last slides are there. BGI adoption plans in some of the major global cities. Green City strategy in Vancouver City, Canada, then a Spawn City program, Wuhan in China, Grey to Green initiative in Portland, USA, New York City Green Infrastructure Plan in USA, then Green Living Spaces Plan, Birmingham, UK. Now, in this slide, I have just try to conclude those major BGI projects of different major cities of the world. And I would just like to mention the Spawn City program. And the basic strategy of these major projects are almost same. They use the BGI measures, which I have discussed in previous slides, but with different names. Like Rain City strategy in Vancouver, Canada, they use the terminology like GRI, Green Rainwater Infrastructure. And under that category, they use the same blue-green infrastructure measures which I have discussed earlier. The idea behind this to capture the for Rain City strategy to capture the 90% of rainwater by 2050. They have set their limits for the 2050. And similarly, on Spawn City program in Wuhan City, they started the program in 2013 for Wuhan City only in 2013, and later they extended this program for 30 more cities. And for that, they targeted to absorb 60 to 85% of annual rainfall by 2030, and they target for this they target at the 80% of the city area to meet these Spawn City standards. And again, the strategy is the same for what I have discussed so far for blue-green measures to manage urban floods, improve water quality, enhance water storage, discharge capacity, mitigating UHI urban heat island through integration of these nature-based solutions. And the similar concepts, the similar strategies are used in the Grey to Green Water Initiative as well. Then NYC Green Infrastructure Plan and Green Living Spaces. One thing I just really wanted to mention in the NYC Green Infrastructure Plan, which has been in this, they basically try to reduce the storm water, or earlier they practiced the combined sewer system, which is being practiced in India as well. In most of the cities, in most of the cases, we practice combined sewer system. And in combined sewer system, whenever the extreme precipitation is there, then it will go to, then there is a combined sewer overflow. There will be a combined sewer overflow. To reduce the combined sewer overflow, they go for the GI measures and green infrastructure measures to incorporate and to go for the sustainable stormwater management. Now, these are some challenges in the intervention of DGI blue infrastructure in case of developing countries like India or in our country. Lack of appreciation of the overarching benefits of the blue infrastructure, lack of enforceable standards at the policy making and planning level, limitation of the BGI researches and fund, availability of the natural landscapes, and demographic features of the city. Now, for the conclusion, in the recent decades, due to rampant urbanization, there have been increasing impervious area and loss of wetlands in Chennai, which has not only disturbed the natural drainage, but also jeopardized its resilience to floods and drought due to drastic decrease in natural land cover. All three major rivers, Kosas, Prayar, Kuvam, and Adyar, have significant issues such as reduced discharge carrying capacity due to imposed floodplains or heavily polluted due to continuous solid and liquid waste dumping. There have been reports, and there are published research reports on that. The Adyar River has almost converted into the drains, because the untreated sewage, disposing untreated sewage in the river is has been common practice for the city. The impact of climate change as an extreme weather condition will be further aggravated the urban water issue if we do not incorporate the environmental aspect in urban planning and development. Like I discussed, the 2015 floods and 2019 droughts, the research, there have been reports, and the researchers quote this 2020 flood and 2019 droughts as a man-made disaster. There are overarching to incorporate, by incorporating the BGI, we may obtain the overarching benefits of the BGI in terms of urban ecosystem. Many cities of the Europe and other countries as well have successfully implemented these BGI measures to manage their floods with the other ecosystem services. The insightful use of BGI will be one of the most promising actions of the adaptation of rapidly changing urban spaces. The findings emphasize on the need of paradigm shift for the traditional approaches to BGI-based approach for the urban flood and water stress management in the Chennai. Considering the extent of damages, it can be concluded that the resilient and sustainable solutions are no longer a choice, rather a compulsion. Developing a BGI-based integrated and sustainable approach for urban flood and water stress management is essential to derive multiple ecosystem benefits regarding urban well-being and to maintain natural hydrologic regime, in addition to the stormwater and water supply management. These are the references. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Nadeem and your team. It's a good presentation. In one slide, you have shown that urban garden and gardens. What is the difference? Urban gardens and gardens. You have taken that one city survey, no? Urban parks, yeah. urban parks and gardens. What is the difference?
Ma'am, urban gardens are basically the engineered stormwater management, comes under the engineered stormwater management, and I mean there's a control on that. We know the output. We know the output of the. We know the how much it will be infiltrated, how much water will be infiltrated. There's a model to design those urban gardens. But urban parks are the common terms. It's a common term. It's not a design. The engineered design, the engineering design will not be there.
So in urban parks, there is a water harvesting structures or
Yes.
water
Yes,
measurement.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, water harvesting structures will be there. And when in most of the blue-green infrastructure measures, the water and the rainwater harvesting theory is there almost. When I say the blue-green roof, then it will lead to the rainwater harvesting ultimately. So, ma'am, or I would say whenever I say the retention ponds and everything there, what we are trying to do with the application of the blue-green infrastructure, we try to uphold or attenuate the surface runoff and in natural way, in controlled natural way.
So what do you think by sustainable approach?
Then yes, when so far the urban management or the urban planning, we go for the sewer lines and the concrete gray structures are there, more gray structures are there. This can't be, these gray structures alone cannot be the sustainable, as we can see already. Earlier, there is no extreme precipitation in last 2 to 3 decades. There is an extreme precipitation case. When I say extreme precipitation, then if say for Chennai, 1300 mm is annual average rainfall. Then in some year there will be no rain, but in some year in the northeast monsoon for the 2 to 3 months, like it happened in 2015. And the November, December, the average rainfall of the 2 months is nearly 900 or 1000 mm. So this will be the case of one of the extreme case. And in that case, since we have destroyed the whole natural urban drainage pattern, so we will not be able to capture with the green infrastructure like sewers and all those. We need to go for the integration of this.
That means holistic approach should be there. Okay. Yes, okay. Okay. Thank you, Nadeem. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadeem, for your presentation. So with this, ma'am, we have come to end of all our presentations. I once again thank all of them to come and present their paper here, and most importantly, thank you to you for spending the time and their paper session in the chair. We gave some very valuable comments to them, and I'm pretty sure it will be useful to them in the long run.
May I say something?
Sure, ma'am. Please, with pleasure.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I think in this session we have 6 presentation, and out of 6, 5 presenters were present their work in the session. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So nice presentation given by all speakers. And it's a really very great opportunity to me to join this international conference. And I am thankful to Amity University to give me this opportunity. So thank you so much to Amity University and you and all speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's all our pleasure. Thank you. So once again, I would like to congratulate all the presenters for a successful presentation. I would request you to please kindly leave, and would request the admin to kindly close the meeting for today. Thank you.
Thank you.